Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Education Committee meeting, Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. The chair will call the meeting to order. With great respect and humility, we acknowledge and honor the lands of the Sunaimo people. The Sunaimo people maintain the profound, unique, and spiritual connection to the land through ages, traditions, teachings, stewardship, and expressions of reciprocity. And I myself am greatly honored to be living and working and zooming from this area in the shadow of Taytuxton, grandmother of some surrounding mountains. This is a bit of a special meeting to me since my grandmother was my mentor. And when I moved here and found out that's what the name of this beautiful mountain was, it made it that much more impactful of who I am, where I come from, and where I go into the future on these lands. And I recognize too that the work that we do intersects with many different nations. We have many different nations that are represented in our schools and our staff from all over, from Stuminas to Stanawas, to Inuit to Métis, all over this wonderful land that is colonially known as Canada. So thank you all for joining us today. It's actually quite a special one today, and we're really honored to be having such great presentations coming to us. But I need to follow my agenda, so I'm going to be asking if there's any additions, deletions, or change in order to the agenda. Okay, I'm actually going to make a little change to the agenda, and that's going to be at the very end, and it's just going to be a bit of an announcement about this month. And so I'll be adding that there if everybody approves. Okay, seeing no one opposed, the agenda is passed unanimously. Now we go to item 6, the approval of the minutes, that the minutes from the Education Committee meeting held on March 1st, 2023 be approved. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Greg, Trustee Keller, and Leanne Lee seconds the motion. Great. Now we are on to presentations. We have some, but I believe it's part of the senior staff reports. So I'm going to turn this over now to Laura, Deputy Superintendent, for the introductions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Welcome, everyone. We have a robust evening planned for you, and we'll be reporting to the board this evening around the board goals, the areas of truth and reconciliation, and safe, caring, and healthy learning environments. So it's going to look a multitude of ways this evening. I'm quite excited. And to kick us off and get us started, I will turn it over to Director of Instruction, Ricky Bartlett. Welcome, Ricky.
Hejka, Deputy Superintendent Tate, Ait Squale, ICM Nasalquan, CM Nasiyatya, CM Nasqualaqua, Quanasilimnala Tanaquale, Enthapa Ricky Bartlett, Tanitzinath Sanemo, Enthamana Tane Cindy Bartlett, Manamain Pat Bartlett, Equam Laat, Red River, Manitoba, from the Cree Nation, Snanemo. Good day, everyone. Good evening. I am Ricky Bartlett, Director of Instruction for Indigenous Learning within NLPS, and I am absolutely honored to be here with you today. Tonight, this is my first time in front of the Education Committee this year, and so I just wanted to raise my hands to our new trustees. Welcome to the table. And of course, hello to you all who are returning to the table to continue this important work. It's great to see you. Tonight we have the opportunity to share with you some pieces of how the operational plan is coming to life in schools around truth and reconciliation. And then other pieces you will find outlined in the information sheet. Together with myself and other staff presenters, we will try and touch on one example from each of the objectives from the operational plan. I'm going to talk about one way that we're building teacher capacity through our commitment of Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action number 57. where we provide opportunities for our staff to learn about the history of Indigenous peoples, specifically the impact of colonialism and intergenerational trauma. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about our Indigenous community partnerships. Later, nearing the end of our presentation, we have two schools here tonight to present to you, Seaview Elementary and Dover Bay Secondary, who will be speaking about how they are bringing to life the Syezches Reconciliation Framework into their schools. So lots to be excited about this evening. But to start us off in a good way, in the best way, we get the honor to hear about the promotion of Hulkaminam from one of our very own Hulkaminam teachers who, without a doubt, is creating environments of belonging and empowerment for Indigenous students while standing every day in this commitment to his family and community in teaching and promoting the revitalization of the Hulkaminam language. So I introduce to you, it is my pleasure, my friend, my colleague, and my teacher, Adam Manson.
Siyan siya siyan shasiyan and thasakhalak needs nationamoch UN yocht quanes tayas names dochter switch qualowens at the CIs at the quail heights apka quanzalabska keep at tanakwane ent heights ape with just following my traditions and letting you know who I am. My name is Sakikhalak. My English name is Adam Manson, and I come from Snuneymuxw. I really wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone who brought all of this work forward tonight. For me, tonight is an important night because I get to share with you some of the Hulkaminam, and it's sad for me to say that this language is on the verge of extinction. I want to thank you for having me come up and share a few of these words with you. And I really want you to understand that this is hard just in general, just to pick up another language. But learning it this way, online, quickly, is the worst. Okay, so you've got some work ahead of you this evening. There are many ways that I can teach you this language. There's a pronunciation guide, there's vocabulary, there's your introduction like I just shared with you, like Ricky shared with you. There's common ones, there's short ones, there's long ones. Many ways that we can go, but I chose some basic greetings and useful phrases that some of you may have seen along your way, or you may have heard other people share in different meetings. And I want you to at least know these basic greetings. I'm going to encourage all of you to have a pen or a pencil, and I'm going to want you to make sure that you write these down and know how to say these, because I'm going to randomly pick I'm going to go through the line and I'm going to randomly ask one of you to say whatever words that we're going through. So you make sure you have notes, and if I didn't say it long enough or you didn't hear it, this is your opportunity to ask, okay? Because when we go through, I'll be testing all of you after. So our first greeting, good morning, is Ai Naiteth. Ai Naiteth.
Ai Naiteth.
Your second one is Ai Squale. Ai Squale.
Ai Squale.
Your third one going down your list. How are you? So singular to one person. Ichuayo. Ichuayo. Now you're going to be able to help me out if someone has a question, right? And they want to say how to say it again. So if they put their hand up or come out on camera and say, can you say that one again, please?
Yeah.
The most common response to that, eats in a while. For I am fine. eats in a while. And when you're in a meeting like this and you're wanting to ask everybody, you can use this one for how are all of you. We're going to make it plural. Eats up uelial. Eats up uelial. To give you a quick lesson in this, that CH in each while, that CH is what makes it singular. Okay, how are all of you? It's up uelio. Tap is what makes it plural. Okay? Your response would be eats to uelio. Eats to uelio. We are fine. And then it's a really nice day. Tatsan u I square. Tatsan u I square. A lot of you should be familiar with this one because this is what Elder Lolly sings when she does her song. Tatsanu, tatsanu, tatsanu I square. Okay. As we go through our useful phrases now. Heichka. Heichka. Again, there's that singular, that CH makes it thank you. Thank you to more than one person. Heitzapka. Heitzapka. Their response? Nametkwa. Nametkwa. Yes. Ha. Ha. Yeah. Chantal?
So thank you is Hayachka.
Yeah.
And then Hait Sapka
Yeah.
is thank you to more than
To
one
more-
person.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So again, that CH, Heichka, thank you. That CH makes it singular. Tsat makes it plural. Okay. Again, yes. Ha. No, one of the first words I learned in Hokamino, doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. Awa. Awa is no. Oh, Tom Rokubi, he's taken some classes before. Yes, we got a veteran in here. All right. Okay.
Oh, don't set me up, Adam. It's rusty.
Goodbye is he'eweth. He'eweth. Now, as you'll see later on down there, my grandma used to always tell me this. They'd say, how do you say goodbye in Hokamino? And they'd say, oh, la lamatich, oh, Juan lam nama sunset. And everyone, so I would share that with people and they go, whoa, that's too long. Okay. So he'eweth was created because of that one being too long. Please. Thichwam. Thichwam. Now I struggle with this one because they would ask, how do you say please in Hokaminum? No, like, we don't have a word for please in Hokaminum. How do you say please in Hokaminum? We don't have a word for please in Hokaminum. And over the question was asked. Okay. Thichwam means to have pity on me. All right. So it's kind of, we would use it more sacredly. Thichwam is when we have a prayer that when we pray to the sun, some shafet thichwam thams. You're asking, you're praying to the sun to have pity on you. And I'm sharing these ones with you because this is what we commonly say, but I will give you the teaching that it was well known in my elders' time that everybody was kind. Everyone was kind to each other. So our language was very direct. There was no, can you please pass me that water bottle? Okay. It was more along like you would almost just point or you just say, give it to me. Okay. You all come in. Me tap nuilam. Me tap nuilam. That me is our word for motion. Okay. Me ewa, come here. me often, come eat, me size, come work, okay? That me, then sap makes it plural, and Newilam would be our word for inside. Ai quanis I lam nama atanaquea. Ai quanis I lam nama atanaquea. It is good to see you today. Okay.
You could say that just a little bit slower.
Okay. Ai quanis I lam nama atanaquea. How was that?
One more time.
One more time. Yeah, this is what I'm here
Thank you,
for.
Tanis.
This is what I'm here for. You
thank
ask again, okay?
This is fantastic.
Ai quanis I
Quanis E.
lam nama atanaquea. Okay.
This means
It's good to see you today.
good to see you today.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. I will see you. Lamnama tsanse. Lamnama tsanse. Okay, that's a common one that you will hear from Mandy and George and myself when we're saying goodbye to each other. That's how we would say it. Lamnama tsanse. And if you want to get specific, oh Juan lamnama tsanse. I will see you soon. Okay. Oh Juan lamnama tsanse. One more time. Oh Juan lamnama tsanse. I will see you soon. I wanted to make additions to this, and I want you guys to really up your whole Hulkaminum game, which is why I give you. I'll see you tomorrow. Lamnama tsanse uqueles. Lamnama tsanse uqueles. Uqueles is our word for tomorrow. Okay. Lamnama tsanse uqueles. I'll see you tomorrow. Now I had to start giving these ones because when I was teaching my students, I eat native, good morning, I eat squale, good day. And when I seen them in the mall during like Christmas time at Christmas hours, they'd see me in the evening and they would go, I don't know what to say because it's in the evening, okay? So now I had to give them this because their whole Hulkaminum has advanced so much. Good evening. Ai chwane'ed. Ai chwane'ed. Ai chwane'ed. Good evening. And when you're calling it a night, good night. Ai sne. Ai sne. Now this is another one that came up and it said, how do you say welcome in Hulkaminum? We don't have a word for welcome in Hulkaminum. How do you say welcome in Hulkaminum? We don't have a word for welcome in Hulkaminum. Okay, so our elders just learned to describe what it is that you're asking. Okay, so when you're saying welcome, you're kind of saying please come in at the school. So for please come in, Tichom I Mich Newilam. Tichum I Mich Newilam. Last time. Tichum I Mich Newilam. And just to come inside, okay, you can, like for a welcome, you just say Newilam. Newilam. And the last three, I'm sure a lot of you will be crossing your fingers that I don't call you upon this one, okay? That your name doesn't come forward how to say these ones. Are you having a fine day today? Ichusiyasol atanaquel. Ichusiyasol atanaquel. Ichusiyasol atanaquel. I had a fine day today. It's an OCSL atanaquel. It's an OCSL atanaquel. And the last person who gets called, my apologies, you're going to get the longest one tonight. Could be you, Tom. We never know, right? All right. I really enjoyed being with you. Okay. Nansen o iestuch quanis neath panato at nawa. Okay. Nansen o iestuch quanis neath quanato at nawa. Okay. And now we put the whole thing together. Nansen o iestuch quanis neath quanato at nawa. I really enjoyed being with you. Okay, so this is what I say. This is the hardest way to teach you the language because you're trying to hear the sounds coming out of our speakers here. But please, I have to share the story with you that don't forget the impact of some of these basic greetings and useful phrases that you can have on our Indigenous youth. I always tell everyone the story of when I was in grade 9, I was at John Barsby, and I remember sitting in the back, not caring, hating the world, because no one's recognizing or seeing what I'm doing. And Ray McDonald walked into my classroom. Okay, I think it was my social studies classroom. He walks into my classroom. They were just teaching us about Christopher Columbus and whatnot that goes with it. And Ray McDonald says, how many of you in here know about Christopher Columbus? A few people put their hands up. And he goes, how many of you in here know or are familiar with residential schools? And over half the class put their hand up. There was a lot of Indigenous youth at that time. And he goes, and he looks at the teacher and he goes, maybe you should be teaching to your classroom. And he turned around and walked out. And I went, whoa. I remember that was one of the first times that my culture was being recognized and that I was being acknowledged as an Indigenous student. And that had such a positive impact that someone just took that awareness of it. So when I share some of these greetings, I make sure that that feeling is beside it, okay? Oh, I need to Scott. Okay, I make sure that he knows that I'm saying good morning to him, that he can feel it. All right, any questions? All right, let's start picking on him, Tanis. You can randomly pick. Okay, you'll pick for me, okay?
Oh, I get to pick. That
Yeah.
sounds fun.
So,
Well, you know what? I just got a message from Ricky. She said, don't pick her, so we should pick her first.
no, we'll give her the last one then.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's see. Why don't we?
let's go top to bottom. Let's
Okay.
go top.
Okay, can we go with let's see. Karen Matthews, you're at the top of my screen.
Good morning, Karen Matthews.
So maybe if you want to
Yeah.
turn on your mic, if you can. and then-
Karen's away for a bit. I can fill in.
Perfect.
Okay, let's go.
What are we starting with?
Good morning.
Agneta,
Okay. Chantel, good day.
Looking
They're
at
in
my
the
list.
chat as well. If you scroll up in the chat,
Oh.
I've pasted them all in the chat as well. So if you
Okay,
want to
thank you.
see the spelling and how to sit everything.
Because I
up
wrote,
there. Yeah.
I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm trying to find it now in my chicken scratch here.
The second one
Um,
down.
Second one down from the top.
I squail.
There you go, yes.
This one I know. Thank you very much for that one.
Mark Robinson, how are you to one person?
I apologize. I've had technical errors. I've been trying to reboot my router on my computer. I'm so sorry.
Okay, Mark, you're just gonna repeat after me, okay?
You bet.
Chuayo.
Chuayo.
Okay, sorry, I paused. Okay, just once. Chuayo.
Chuayo.
There you go, okay? That's how are you to one person, all right? Laura Tate, I am fine.
Oh, I am fine. Eatson Uile.
Yes, well done. Okay,
Heichka.
Tanya Brosevich, how are all of you?
Isepuel.
Itzap Uelia.
Uelio.
There you go.
Isepuelio.
Yes, okay. We are fine. Tanya.
Itsuya.
Oh, sorry, Tanya Whiting, my bad, sorry.
Sorry.
I won't pick on you twice. That was my
Thank
fault.
Can you say it, Adam, and I repeat it? I'm a bundle of nerves over here.
Eats Tualia.
Eats dualium.
Wait.
Sort of.
Eats Tualia.
Eats dualial.
There you go. Yes. Okay. All right. Dale's a pro here. Dale Burgos. It's a really nice day.
Really nice day. Okay. Sapsinu Ugsquale.
Perfect. Well done. You must have sat with Elder Lolly. Okay. All right. Dawn, you get a hard one. Dawn, you get thank you.
Heitzka.
Oh, you lucked out. All right. Let's see. Who am I at? Greg Keller. Thank you to more than one person.
Heitzka.
Yes. Okay. Jackie Poulin. You're welcome.
Namutkwa.
Yes. Jeff. Yes.
You gave me a hard one, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know what I think it says. Hie?
Huh. That's how you say it, Jeff. Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you're laughing. Huh.
There we go.
All right. Jessica Krog. Where am I at? No.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear which one I got.
No.
Oh, Uyo.
Owa.
Owa. Sorry, my
Yes.
apologies.
There you go. Okay. Carrie Steele. Goodbye.
Hiwe.
Heewe.
Heewe.
There you go. Okay.
Heewe. Thank you.
Kirsten Robinson. Please.
I missed that one. I'm gonna get it.
Okay.
Sequum.
Yes, well done. Okay. Who's that? Laura Roberts. You all come in.
Oh, you gave me a hard one. You're going to have to help me with that one.
Ni Tsap Nuilam.
Ni Sat Nuilam.
There you go. Yes.
Nice. Thank you.
That one more. Leanna Pellegrin. Did I say that right? It's good to see you today. Wait, it doesn't, you need your mute off.
Sorry.
Nice try.
Okay. Equanus. Oh, this is really long. Is this the one that's 3 lines? Okay, 1 second.
No.
Okay, so I have a lot written down and terrible writing. Equanus alumnama atanaquail.
Yeah, there you go. Iquanasi lumnama atanaquea.
Okay, thank you.
Leanne Lee, I will see you.
All right. Lanama san ete.
Set.
Set.
Yeah, it's almost like
Lanama.
sunset. Okay. Lamnama sunset.
Lanama sunset.
Yes, okay. Mark Robertson. I will see you soon.
Oswan Lamanil Sunset.
There you go. Naomi Bailey. I'll see you tomorrow.
Lamnam sunset o Quailus.
Well done, Naomi. You must have worked at Staminas. Let's come back up to Mark Walsh. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll come back up to Mark Walsh here. Okay. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Lamnalo tsamtse u Quailus.
Well done. Okay. Grace, you're a pro. This one's too easy for you. Good evening. She did?
Maybe not.
Okay. Sarah Stewart. Are you there? No?
Gone.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
That's it.
come-
I think that's everybody.
Okay, we're gonna come back. And
Is there anybody that got missed? Be honest.
Tom,
Okay.
okay, we'll go right to the end. Tom Rokeby, I really enjoyed being with you.
And Chris.
You got this, Tom.
It's funny, I write it down phonetically, and then I sometimes do better with that. Nunkun Oyas Stukwa, Quanas Neth, Quanatul, Utal Nuwa. Oh boy, I butchered that. Sorry, Adam.
No, I'm very impressed because you got the longest one of the night there, okay? But remember that C is like the English TS, okay? Nansan.
Nansan. Stick, Oyster.
Quanis Neath.
Quanas Neath.
Quanato.
Quanato.
Achnawa.
Atnawa.
Okay, is that one more who's missed one? Is that Chris? Okay, Chris, we will give you welcome.
Nalam?
Nawilam. Nawilam, okay? So I just wanted to share with you.
It's me.
Oh, Tanis wants to go. Okay. Are you having a fine day today? You wait. You can ask Ricky and Ricky can respond to you, okay?
Okay. Ricky. Each o ias al tanaquel.
Osia Salatana Quail.
Yes, don't forget the sun. Eat
Sun.
sun.
Eat sun.
Okay.
Yes.
So just a crash course for you all to help you understand how Ho'okaminam is. When you get really interested, I have the pronunciation guide for you, okay, that can help you understand that even though we use the English letters, we have different rules and sounds for each letter, okay, which will help make this process a lot easier. And please, the worst thing that people do is, Mr. Adam comes along and gives you, and that does a nice effort and creates this sheet for you, and everyone takes it and puts it in the corner on the side of the table on the counter, and they never pick it up again. Okay, that's a very common thing that happens for all of us, and then we're just right back from square one. Sia tala heights up wisiam I just wanted to give you the highest thank you that I can give to all of you for taking the time to learn some of this language that's on the verge of extinction, okay? And I just wanted to introduce my friend Tanis, who's gonna take it from here.
Hi, yeah. So I just wanted to point out some of the other resources that we have online if you're interested in learning more. The district has put up quite a few resources in coordination with our Ho'okaminam teachers like Adam and our other wonderful teachers. And so I just wanted to show you where they are. I think that there was some links that were sent out to everybody. Ricky, is that correct? I can also stick them in, I'll just stick them in my, I'm doing like all my fun magic of pasting things into the chat.
Yeah, the links that Tanis is going to show you, they're provided on the information sheet too, so you can find them there.
And I also just put them into the chat. But I'm going to just take you on a little guided tour, if you don't mind. I'm going to share my screen, and then I can show you where some of this stuff lives. So we do have, this is where all of the greetings that Adam just went through live. And a lot of the stuff that we have is on NLPS Learns, which is our sort of website that we have for our educators in the district. And a lot of the stuff that you want to find, you can go to the Indigenous Education page, and from there, you can link to a whole bunch of Hulkaminam resources. I've got it all pulled up here so you can see them all, but that's sort of where you get to them if you're forgetting where those links are and you want to get there. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to load, so I'll just jump there already here. Oh, look, here they are. So one of the things that's not directly on that page is all of the sort of little listening activities that have been built around Hulkaminam. And there's a little studio, it's on Scratch. So all of these little listening activities are available here. There's quite a few, I think there's about 32 of them or so. And they're all in sort of embedded in the resources section of the NLPS Learns page on the Indigenous Education page. So over here, when you go to Hulkaminam resources, they'll be in there amongst a whole bunch of other things as well. We also have links on YouTube to a whole bunch of recordings that have been done, including introductions. Some of the ones that Adam did, some of them are the same, some of them are other ones as well. So there's a whole long list of them, and even some fun songs. So there's a whole bunch of them here, and there's lovely little videos. So here's one here. It's kind of cute. It was put out around Valentine's Day, but it's kind of so that one's there. We also have all of the resources. So like the little listening activities I showed you that are built in Scratch, there's lots of other things as well, including pointing to other things that are out that other people have created with the city or that have shared with other groups. So there's quite a few things. So they're all linked within here, and there's lots of different pages. So if you want to just sort of browse through them, there's tons of things that you can access, including, like Adam was saying, if you're unsure of how to read Hulkaminam, because some of the letters make different sounds in Hulkaminam than they do in English, we have like a Hulkaminam phonics page, so you can learn how to sort of pronounce all the things, and you can click on the sounds and know what they sound like. So that's kind of a handy little tool. We also have some books that we created in coordination with the Hulkaminam teachers. So these are the books that we've created, and if you go to the books, some of them are dual language. This one here, it's got mostly English words, but some of the keywords are in Hulkaminam, and then some other books are completely in Hulkaminam, like Saktuspan or all these ones here. So those are great little books, and if you click on the page, the books are there as ebooks right up online, so you can look at them. You can also have them read aloud to you. So there's lots of resources there that you can work with. Read some books to your kids at home. What else we got here? We got also a whole bunch of swiem or stories. Some of them are also available in Hulkaminam. Some of them use different spelling systems because they may have been created by Cowichan or other places. So just be aware of that some of them just use different spelling systems, but a lot of the words, even though some have different dialects, I think most of the words are very similar, even though some of them are different because of the dialect. Is that right, Adam? Yeah. So some of them in here, like Little Wren Goes Hunting, is a story. It's quite funny. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's about a little bird that decides it's going to try to kill a moose. but it's quite a funny little story. But it's originally told, there's a lovely recording of Ruby Peter telling it in Hulkaminam, and then it has it all written out with translations in English. So there's a few of the stories in here are in Hulkaminam as well. And then my last little page here is the Hulkaminam keyboard. So with some of the special symbols that you use, some of the diacritics that you need to write, like these little marks above the L and the Q, you can install on your computer a way that you can actually access that. So if you can see down at the bottom of my page right here, I can switch down here, it says English, and I can switch to Hulkaminam keyboard. And that just means that these letters here, I don't know if I'll zoom in a little bit because it's probably hard to see on my screen, but you can see the keyboard here. That turns the question mark into that little apostrophe that goes above the letter, and then the accent that goes above the accented syllables is where the colon is, and then the X with the little mark above it is right up here where the tilde is on your keyboard. So it just changes those 3 keys so that you can type those extra letters. And if you are installing it on your own computer, there's no cost. You don't have to, there's nothing special to do it, and all the instructions to do it are here. If you're installing it on school district computers, you may have to get the IT team to do it for you if you don't have permissions on your computer to do it. And that's about it. That's a little bit of everything. I'm gonna get out of here. Let's see if I can figure out how to close my. Okay. Well, hang on a sec. Stop sharing. There we go. There we go. So that's sort of a little bit of a rundown of some of the resources we have. There's quite a bit out there, like when you gather it all together. Lots and lots of resources that you can use to learn with.
Hajka Adam and Hajka Tanis, thank you for being here with us tonight, but mostly just all you continue to do to foster the learning of this language for both staff and students in our district. You are both so appreciated and just so much fun to work with. So hi Sepka for being here tonight, and a big hi Sepka to our trustees for making space and time for this lesson and making yourselves vulnerable in a public board meeting to model the learning of the local language. Much appreciated. Okay, before we hear from schools tonight, I just wanted to highlight a couple of areas within the operational plan that are timely to what we are working on right now, in addition to the Hulkaminam piece. First being the First Peoples grad requirement. At this time last year, some of you might remember, we had made the decision to implement EFP 10 as the sole English 10 option for grade 10 students across the district. Less than a month after we had made that decision, the ministry announced that they were implementing a First Peoples graduation requirement for all districts across the province. So this was really exciting for us because as the news took other districts by storm with the short timelines of the implementation, we were sort of well on our way to planning and building capacity in the plans to build capacity in our staff. And we even had a model school, a pilot school in NDSS, who had taken on the initiative the year prior. So we had a whole host of teachers who had already experienced the implementation of it at their school. So with such a movement by the ministry, and as excited as we were as a Department of Learning Services team, we knew that there would be many long-standing English teachers who were, really nervous about doing the course justice, being able to teach it in a genuine and in an authentic way. So since then, we have been busy hosting workshops for EFP teachers. We've had 2 full days and an evening so far, where we work to provide opportunities for the teachers to learn from local knowledge keepers, give them opportunities to collaborate around resources, and even learn some Hulkaminam from our friend Adam. But giving teachers the space and time to really build an understanding about the ways in which we will teach the EFP course. More ways through oral language, sacred circles, for example, in many cases, new strategies to how teachers were teaching the English curriculum. So yeah, and just giving teachers a really the time away from school to sit together with colleagues and network and just really have opportunities to dive into that curriculum. We were, of course, lucky to be able to use the teachers from NDSS who had taken part in the EFP pilot so that they could come and share their experiences, lesson ideas, and they really were able to help ease the unknown for the larger group of teachers who were nervous about taking on the challenge. So in addition to the learning opportunities that we have provided here in the district, the ministry and FNESC have also hosted a workshop this spring up Island that many of our teachers also attended. And we have one more workshop coming up this spring we are really excited about. And as well, we have been provided a special opportunity for our EFP teachers to attend the SAYETSIS dinner gathering with our local knowledge keepers to learn from their teachings and be able to use that experience and learning to make the teaching more meaningful in their classroom. And so last year, our principals and vice principals had that opportunity. And then this year we are having our EFP teachers and as well as our counselors participate in that. So that's really exciting. And I believe that it's going really well. I think that our teachers are doing a great job this year with full implementation of EFP 10. You know, their confidence and dedication has really been inspiring to watch. They've just really risen to the occasion, and it's been great. I think that the way that we've provided these opportunities throughout the year, it's created a real sense of community around the course, and yeah, just a really collaborative network. So yeah, we're really excited about that. We've outlined our vision on the information sheet, so there's more information there. Yeah, and I think that's all I'm going to say about that for now. Also included in the operational plan that I wanted to touch on this evening is just around that Indigenous community partnerships. And the example that I wanted to mention tonight, as all of you know, this past month, together with Snuneymuxw, the city of Nanaimo, Kwamut-Lelam, Tilikum-Lelam, we hosted the Junior All-Native Tournament at secondary school sites across our district. And yeah, it was just amazing. I got to see some of you there, Trustee McKay, Trustee Rokeby, and I know that Marina White and Joan Brown from Snuneymuxw First Nation were here last week to acknowledge the partnership that they have with us. But I just wanted to extend the conversation a little bit tonight. I think it's important to recognize that these partnerships, these relationships are really so much more than working together to provide facilities or the logistical pieces for an event, the service end of it, to help support one of our nations or community partners. With Jant as an example, immersing yourself into these partnership events, into the relationships, immersing yourself into those connections, that really is the purest form of reconciliation. For anyone who was immersed in the culture of Jant, they know it wasn't just a basketball tournament. It really was an experience and an opportunity to grow as a community around truth and reconciliation. And you know, we have so much to learn from Indigenous ways of being, and you know, Jant was just one more example of that. And it's challenging to explain to somebody who wasn't present at the event because, you know, it wasn't a thing that you experienced or an event. It really was a feeling, right? What Adam was talking about, that feeling attached to the thing. You know, and one example that I continually bring up when I talk to people about the tournament is the end of the game in a Jant tournament. The winning team puts the losing team in their circle and they chant for them and they cheer for them and they send them off in a good way. And, you know, the significance of watching this take place after a big loss, an emotional loss in front of your friends and family and your nation, the connection just keeps growing and just getting stronger throughout the week. And I think that sense of pride that we saw on the faces of our NLPS students who played on the Nanaimo Suns teams, seeing their confidence on the court. It was just also reaffirming how powerful it would be for these students, these same students, to be able to walk our school hallways with as much pride as we saw in them during that week. So as an organization responsible in creating those environments for our Indigenous youth to thrive, really using these experiences to guide us in asking ourselves, how are we taking what we learned from Jant and bringing those teachings into the school environments for these students? How are we creating more opportunities for staff and students to truly immerse themselves in these environments? Because learning about it is different than being in it and feeling it. So bringing that emotional connection to the learning during these connections is just so important. So I just wanted to stress that these partnerships are everything to Truth and Reconciliation, and being a small part in watching our local nations thrive as a community with them leading the way is pretty special, and truly recognizing that as much as we give to them, the real gift is what they give to us, in being able to be witness to that feeling and knowing that it's really our responsibility to do something with it. And so, powerful relationships we definitely have with our nations and community partners in this district. But with that, I am going to pass it all over to our assistant superintendents, Poulin and Balcom, who will introduce the school teams, who will be sharing with you how they are working together with their local nations to bring Syetsis to life within their school communities.
Good evening, and thank you very, very much. I have the pleasure of introducing the principal at Seaview Elementary, Tanya Whiting, and her team, as they have an opportunity to share all the wonderful work that they are doing there. So thank you so much, Seaview, for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Tanya, to introduce your team and enjoy the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jackie, and good evening, everyone. We really, really appreciate this opportunity to be here with you this evening to share some of the work that we're doing here at Seaview towards the board's goal of Truth and Reconciliation. And if you just bear with me one moment here, I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, just 1 second here. I think I've got that. Okay, so thank you. I'm here at the school tonight, which is located on the unceded territory of the Sutnawis First Nation. And I'm joined here with Jessica, you probably could see behind me earlier, Jessica Giesbrook, and she's our Indigenous Cultural Student Support Worker, and Joe Canty. And Joe is our Learning Commons teacher who leads the land-based learning at our school, as well as Adam, who you met earlier. And Adam is our culture guide and Halkominum teacher. And we're so lucky to have him here at our school 2 days a week. And you can see the beautiful work that he does. The language proficiency at Seaview just simply blows me away. And we have just such a passionate group of Halkominum learners, Indigenous and non-Indigenous students alike. So we're going to be talking about some of the objectives from our district's Truth and Reconciliation goal and how it takes shape here at Seaview School. And what I've highlighted, or what will be highlighted throughout our presentation, is how the Syetsis framework is the foundation of the work we do here at our school. And Syetsis really encompasses all of the board's goal objectives and the educational and community partnerships that are integral to the work we're doing here, and how much we all value and support language and land-based learning. I'll begin by telling you a little bit about our school. Seaview is centrally located in the community of Lanceville, overlooking the beautiful Salish Sea. We have amazing people that work at our school. Our staff is deeply invested in the school community, And many have children of their own that attend our school. They're passionate and about creating a real sense of belonging and community for all of our kids. And this just seems to happen here. I've only been here a few months, but for me, I could just tell that this was happening right away. And it's really just the product of how these folks work together every day, every single one of them. I'll begin. Our student population represents quite a diverse range of social, economic, and cultural backgrounds. Of our 274 students, more than 20% of the population are of Indigenous ancestry, and 24 of our students live on reserve, which is just 3.5 kilometers down Lassville Road. And our proximity to Snitnawis is significant, as our Snitnawis families have been attending our school for a really long time, and we love that. Older siblings and cousins and mums and dads and aunties and uncles attended Seaview, and their faces look out at their kids from the school pictures that don our hallways back from the 80s and the 90s. But what is also significant is the missing faces. And these are the faces that are not represented in our hallways. Those are the faces of many of their grandparents. And these grandparents who did not get the opportunity to come to Seaview and take that 5-minute bus ride, but instead were sent off to residential school in Port Alberni or Cooper Island or the Indian Day School in Nanaimo. And this is the truth part and a really chilling reality for us here that's so important in trying to understand the impact of a system that completely failed many of our Snitnawis families. And for many, the effects of intergenerational trauma are deeply rooted and to this day impact the trust and sense of safety they have in the school system. And this is really challenging for those of us who come to work every day with good intentions and love in our hearts, but it also fuels our determination to do things in a better way. And this is the beautiful thing about our district CETSIS framework, which underpins what's happening every day here at Seaview. It guides and shapes our work as we walk together with our families. When I arrived at Seaview, I felt a real strong connection immediately between the school and the land and the sea. And I imagined a beautiful piece of art in our entranceway in our office that would embody this sense of place and honor Snitnawis history and culture. And Adam connected me with Grace Edwards, who I think is here with us this evening. And Grace is such a talented young Coast Salish artist and a past Seaview student. And if you've been to Lansville lately, you may have seen her mural, which is shown in the slide here. And so we've commissioned a piece that Grace is going to be working on for us. And this has been supported. This is another example of partnership. This has been supported by Ricky and the Indigenous Education Department. And it's highlighted there. Grace is going to talk about it. I've got a little clip of her there so you can see the beautiful, this is just a mock-up, a design that she's going to be doing for us. But I see this as a representation of CETSIS, walking in two worlds by bringing together our school and the land, the Coast Salish culture. So now I hopefully have the audio on, and if I don't, Jackie, maybe you could let me know, but I'm just going to have you listen to Grace.
I'd Squirrel, Anthroput Grace Edwards, Tanita Snotnawis. Good day, everyone. My name is Grace Edwards, and I come from the Snotnawis First Nation. I am in my final year, my BA with a major of visual arts and a minor in Indigenous Studies at Vancouver Island University at the moment. I just want to say thank you very much for this opportunity to be working with Seaview and bringing Coast Salish art into the school. So I just want to say thank you very much. This is a very important project for me just because I'm actually a past student at Seaview. So this means so much as Seaview was one of the stepping stones in my education. So it's very important. So thank you very much. I just want to read off the statement of the painting. So for this image, I focused more on Nanoose Bay with the notch in the background. It is somewhat reminiscent of my mural, but this time with killer whales jumping in the bay. A few years back, we actually had killer whales in the bay and it was magical. Also, during the summer, Nanoose is known for its spectacular sunsets. So I love painting the colors. They are soothing and calming. In this one, I feel like the values of community, family, fun, and tranquility are words I would use to describe this piece. So thank you once again for choosing me to be the artist for this painting. and bringing Coast Salish culture into the school. So, hi, Chika.
So I'm going to turn this over now to Jo Canty, and she's going to talk, to Jessica, and she's going to tell you a little bit about how CETSIS takes shape in her role.
Squale, Antha Jessica Giesbrecht. My position here at Seaview is an important one. As an ICSSW, I am the primary contact person for all the Indigenous students within our school. Within this position, I hold the responsibility of caring for our most vulnerable students. I am in constant communication with the majority of parents, teachers, admin, academic supports, the band, as well as outside agencies. I believe in the importance of bridging the gap between the Snitnawis Nation and our school. This has been my main goal since I started here at Seaview 4 years ago. I was lucky enough to work for Snitnawis for 3 years, and within that time built relationships with so many of our families, watching the children grow from infants to who we have at our school today. Seaview was my dream school, and walking through the doors felt like coming home. I am a firm believer that parents who feel like they have a trusted connection with someone at the school, someone who will support them and be there for them, are more likely to send their children. A big part of my job revolves around CETSIS. Every day I walk in two worlds, navigating the partnership between the Snitnawis Nation and our school community, guiding those two entities and bringing them together for the greater good of our students and our families. Although it has often been with my encouragement, guidance, and support that parents feel comfortable coming into our school, whether for a meeting or an activity, I have worked hard to build that connection and foster those relationships between the families and our school staff to ensure that sense of safety, so that together we can grow and not always need someone in my position right here with them. When our families walk through the doors of our school, they are able to see other familiar and kind faces of our staff through these connections, and they know that whether I am in the building each day or not, that their children are well supported and cared for. We have worked hard to create a warm and welcoming space within our school for community members to come in and feel safe. From the moment the students get off the bus in the morning until they are getting back on at the end of the day, we have created those relationships with them and built that sense of trust so that all of our students feel that sense of belonging. They feel safe and connected to our school. This looks like students joining in with our soft start mornings, where students start their day with a healthy smoothie breakfast, working with our staff to create a positive start to their days, students participating in our Indigenous program, where I bring different cultural activities into the classrooms numerous times throughout the year. We have had the Snitnawis chief and elders come in and share their stories with us. Last year, we made 300 mini drums that all of the students were able to take home and share with their families. We had a week where I made fry bread every day for the classes right before spring break. We have turned our entire school into an Indigenous ocean and forest for a month as we learned all about the local Coast Salish animals that we share our land with, while learning all of the Hulkaminam that went along with it. Our students are always engaged and excited to learn the language and the local Indigenous culture. To hear the children speak the Hulkaminam language, shine through their art, and really embrace the culture fills my heart with so much pride. Hi, Sepka.
Okay, and I'm going to share my screen again, and you can hear from Jo.
This button.
Oh, sorry. I practice. Doesn't matter how much you practice something, hey, when you're a little nervous. Good evening. Over the years, our school has been working on some inspiring projects to honor the teachings of the land and First Peoples.
Today, I'm going to speak to you about one of those projects, the transformation of our school garden into a learning garden. This slide shows the new sign at the front of our garden. Tayato means learning together in Hulkaminam, which encompasses the inspiration for this area. We are hoping that our learning garden is an area where teachers and students will embrace the teachings of this land on which we live and work, and further appreciate the relationship between land, language, and culture. We will be working at building partnerships with our Snanawas community and Indigenous knowledge keepers by inviting them to share stories and teachings about the local area and plants. When students build a connection to the land and the language, they learn to respect and cherish it, and hopefully their love and desire to protect them will amplify. Our garden will not only be a place to plant seeds and watch them grow, but will be an area where teachers can bring classes to connect through storytelling, drumming, language development, and outdoor education. This slide shows some of the Indigenous animals that have been placed all along the outside of the fence with English and Hulkaminam names. These signs have been a collaboration with our culture group, grade 6-7 leaders, teachers, and the Learning Alternatives program at Woodlands. This shows how we are all working together to create connections for the students and families in our community and within our district. We know that learning is embedded in story, and these animals will inspire the creation of stories as well as a place to hear and share them. The Hulkaminam language will be embedded throughout the garden through plant identification in our native plant garden bed, rocks with Hulkaminam and English words and numbers, and animal signs on each of the flower beds. Visitors and our Snanawas families will see visual representation of the Hulkaminam language all over our garden, and this will show how we value the language and culture here at Seaview. This learning garden can be utilized in so many ways as an outdoor learning space with stations where students can garden, build stories with rocks in the literacy box, read on the benches, drum, do math, and so much more. We are so fortunate to have a PAC that supports our work and sees the value in these teachings and this learning. They have funded a lot of the garden projects and have recently paid for the materials for our staff to create a class set of drums at our May Pro D with Mrs. Manson. With these drums, Adam can take classes into the garden for drumming circles and other cultural teachings. Having the students use different forms of art and creativity in this space will enhance their relationship with each other, the culture, and the land. Moving forward, we have decided as a staff to put more emphasis on land-based learning by implementing an outdoor education program into the intermediate prep schedule. We want this program to be a partnership with Indigenous knowledge keepers from the district and Snanawas community, and we are really excited about this work. I could not do any of these amazing projects without the support, hard work, and collaboration with the incredible staff at Seaview, and I feel so lucky and grateful to come to work every day. I believe that our district outlines what we are doing seamlessly in their SAYETSIS framework when they write, "The land and its resources touch every aspect of our life and is the cornerstone of our connectivity. It is within this space we will strengthen our sense of belonging and interconnectedness to enhance all our relationships in a thoughtful way." These words resonate with me and have fueled my passion to do this work here at Seaview. I truly believe that if we connect students to the land, the language, and the culture, then they will be inspired to cherish and protect what they love. By protecting what we love, our students are building a connection with nature, people, and our planet, and learning that they can stand up for a better tomorrow. Aichka.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I think that your passion just comes pouring through. Beautiful. Okay. Wow. Help me. Jeepers, it's okay. Oh, there we go. Hi, Adam. Okay, Adam is next. Go ahead, Adam.
Siyam na siya. It's tala kustana shasiyam siyam schools tanak. To mokthwe to kadatstam Seaview School eokt. The Mart Square Atanaquel. I just want to give my highest gratitude and appreciation to our principal, to Joe, to Jessica, and to all of our teachers and staff at Seaview School. And just sharing that in front of everyone that today is a great day. Today is very important. We're talking about our successes. You know, when Tanya was sharing a little bit of the stories, I think of my mom who's gone to Seaview School and the terrible experience that she had. And you see the progress we have made. I want to thank Ricky for allowing me to develop consistency at Seaview, because Seaview was one of the schools that was ready. As you have noticed from all of the progress that is happening at the school, that's because everybody is participating and reassuring us that it's important. I want everyone to know that. Can you play that
Yep.
clip for the teaching?
It should be there.
I'm not sharing right now.
No, you're not sharing the screen. Okay. To share screen.
We don't have any sound, Tanya. Could you click on the
Sorry.
sound piece? That's okay, thank you.
Hold on. My apologies, Adam.
No worries. Stay well, cross-stop paper, book, house, table, desk, pencil, wall, light, door, chair, stairs, clock, window, floor, eat, love, couchette. Just to give you guys a small clip of what I'm so grateful for and why I'm so thankful to Ricky and to everyone at Seaview that we can finally have some consistency in the same school, in the same classes, which means we can finally advance the language past Haichka. As you can see, they are learning and listing stuff in their everyday surroundings, and we're encouraging them to take the language home. The more advanced that they become, the more interested they get and the more curious they are with asking me every week, how do we say this? How do we say that? Because there's something that came along in their everyday surroundings that they want to know. I want you to know that they are asking for more classes, and that's what encouraged me to come to Seaview when they would say, how come we can have 2 music classes a week, but we can only have 1 Hulkaminum class? That makes no sense to me. So we got to finally answer those questions, and we get to see what it has done. Seaview is a great example of the language really soaring right now. It helps us give us a great example of Siet Yatsas. I have a lot of Indigenous students when I first started would sit in the back because they are still ashamed from that trauma that's being handed down to them. And when people ask me, oh, what's it like teaching non-Indigenous students? I said, it's perfect at Seaview that they are so happy and excited for learning Hulkaminum that all of a sudden those shy Indigenous students that are sitting in the back are starting to stick their chest out a little bit more, and they're like, I'm proud, and they start coming forward. So without them even knowing, they've encouraged each other. They've encouraged those Indigenous students to come towards their language and be proud. When I think of my family, my mom comes from Snanawas, and I think of all of my relations that come from Snanawas community. Having that recognition and having that awareness that Hulkaminum is just soaring in their school right now. We have to understand that this isn't a minor step. This is major. This is a very big step in the right direction. And because of that major step, I really have to acknowledge the teachers at Seaview, because this is who the students see Monday to Friday. And when the teacher participates, takes Hulkaminum and puts it up in their classroom, takes the stuff that we are learning, the vocabulary, and they're making cool pictures and they're placing it all around the classroom. This reassures the students that the language is important. They believe that because their teacher is doing it, now everyone else wants to do it as well. And the teachers are being brave like all of you were by trying to say Hulkaminum and making that mistake and showing the students that it's okay. We're all going to make mistakes when we're learning this. Can you play the culture one?
Yeah.
Composed by Carrie Lee.
Okay, so just to share with you, this is what can happen when your principal agrees that culture group is important, that they give us space and they can have a room and they can say, this is your culture group room. The pride that is just beaming out of all of them. They are doing things that hasn't been done in Hulkaminum. Singing Stand By Me, picking a song in Hulkaminum. When my mom witnessed this, watching them drum. She was very impressed at one of the things that a lot of people won't pick up on is just how in tune and the rhythm and the beats of when they were drumming, that they were all together and in sync. We understand that language and culture go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So watching them take the vocabulary, taking the Hul'qumi'num words and putting it into their culture, into songs, how important of a step that is. This is all about, this culture group is all about encouraging the positive. They had a lot of students asking for more, when they wanted to advance more. And out of this came Jessica's daughter, who says, I want to be a Hul'qumi'num teacher when they get older, and proud of it, and has made the effort to ask for more Hul'qumi'num so she can. And now I've got all these grade 6s and 7s panicking because they're like, what are we going to do when we get to Dover? There's no Hul'qumi'num out there. We need to keep advancing with it. So the curiosity is there. With any growth, it's hard to find your identity. But now I see our Indigenous students joining our culture group and being proud. They know they have to finish their schoolwork in order for them to join the culture group. So it's encouraging both worlds. And we have a saying when you walk in into our culture group room, you need to always have good thoughts and feelings. You know, as you can see with everything that's been shared with us from everyone at Seaview, that this is what everyone carries. This is what everyone displays. It just radiates out of all of the staff, which is absolutely contagious and is passed down to the students. So I just wanted to share all of with all of you again. We have taken major steps at Seaview, and C8 was working together, walking in two worlds. Okay, we're really taking a major step in revitalizing the language and culture. Again, I give you my highest gratitude and appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Haichka. Yeah, that's our presentation, Ricky. So thank you. I don't know if anyone has any questions for any of us, but we are here if you do.
I do believe that Naomi had one.
I think Naomi, you have a question?
She might not be on, just one moment. So I will go. Oh, there you are. Yay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you. So my question wasn't actually to the schools. I have a question for Ricky. But because you know me, Ricky, I'm the devil's advocate here. But I do want to comment on the work being done at Seaview, the presentations. Adam, I'm not surprised at what you're doing. I've always been a big fan of yours, you know that. And I just really appreciate your continued work in teaching Hul'qumi'num to students. And I watched you grow as a teacher too, so it's super cool to see you up there doing what you're doing. So I thank you. I raise my hands to you, Adam. It's beautiful. Haichka. Ikoneet, I wanted to say. Ricky, I wanted to comment on the First Peoples 10 and First Peoples 12. I wanted to ask a couple questions and then give
Naomi,
some
can I just, I think that we're doing the schools questions, and I think we're doing our questions at the end. Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine. I thought we were done. Sorry.
That's okay. We have another school presentation, so we were just going to let these guys. I think, Jackie, is that?
Yes, the plan was to let our schools present first and wrap up and go from there. So through the chair, if there's any other questions or comments for Seaview, and then we'll wrap up with Seaview.
Fantastic. Mark, is your question for Seaview? Sorry, is my mic loud enough? Am I loud enough? Okay, great. Okay, Mark, if you'd like to come on. Oh, no, doesn't have a question. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I would just like to say I thank you so much for this. This has been overwhelmingly awesome. And thank you for the amazing language lesson. I'm totally okay with making a fool of myself to learn. That's kind of how we do, right? And that's okay. So thank you very much. Greg, Trustee Keller has a comment.
Thank you, Chantel. I just wanted to share my sincere Haitsepka for Adam and team for coming to share some Hulkaminam words with us this evening. It's something that was really important to me as chair to try and, lead by example. And it's tough when you don't get exposed to this on a regular basis. And I really appreciate the time that you've taken out of your evenings to come to our committee this evening and to share your knowledge and wisdom. And I hope that we get more opportunities like this because, I think it's important that we lead by example. And this is the start of that. So again, just thank you very much.
Thank you. I think now I go back to you, Jackie.
Absolutely. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Seaview and their team. Amazing presentation. Haitsepka. I think I got that right, Adam. I'm hoping I did. And just an amazing job tonight. The work that you were doing for your school, the students, the families, and the entire community is absolutely outstanding. And thank you for taking your time to come and present with us tonight. And I will turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Belcombe for our next school. Thank you again, Seaview.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thanks again, Seaview. It was a beautiful presentation. Thank you, Adam, for the Hulkaminam lesson. That was very well received, I think, by everybody. It is my great pleasure now to introduce Vice Principal Kim Hart, who is going to introduce her Dover Bay team, and you're going to see some familiar faces in their presentation as well. So if Kim is there she is. I'll turn it over to Kim.
I'd squeal everyone. Thank you so much for big hi. I raise my hands to all of you. Wonderful job, Seaview. I'm actually feeling very warm inside right now, and it's very powerful. And I know that the Education Committee and all the staff are probably feeling the same. I sit here tonight, super grateful to be with you on this beautiful unceded territory of the Nanaimo people. I'm just up by Westwood Lake. Enthapa, Kim Hart, Vice Principal of Dover Bay. I have deep roots in the Red River settlement, similar to someone I'm about to introduce, and I am Ojibwe and Cree and Saulteaux on both my mother's and my father's side. At Dover Bay, we were gifted with 2 people this year. I'm extremely grateful to be able to introduce to you tonight Michelle Kalmakoff. She is also mixed settler like myself, Ojibwe, and she is our Indigenous support teacher. So thank you, Ricky. You were the gift giver in that case, and Michelle for finding her way to us. Grace Edwards has also found her way back to Dover. She is a past Dover Bay grad, similar to Seaview. She is Nutnawis. She is an artist, and she is in the future, she will be a visual arts grad from our local VIU. So I'm gonna say goodnight, and I will stay on and cheer on our team. And thank you very much for your time.
Hi, Kim. So I'm Michelle Kalmakoff. I just want to say I was just blown away by Seaview's presentation. I thought it was incredible, and yeah, I really appreciate having the opportunity to see what they're doing there. It just, it's really inspiring what we can do and what we're working towards at Dover Bay.
I'm just going to share my screen, and Grace, I can't see if, I'm assuming Grace is on it and ready, but we want to talk about some of the truth and reconciliation initiatives that we're working on at Dover. And maybe Grace, I'll just share a couple, I'll share my screen with the, sorry, let me take a breath. Some images that you painted already, and you can talk about what we're doing, and then I'll take it from there. That would be great. Give me just 1 second. Okay, is it working? Grace, are you?
I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Looks good, Michelle.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry, I can't tell if I'm frozen or not. Yeah, so we had some new construction at the school this year, and it actually allowed for ES Lelam, us to have our own Indigenous support room, which the students named Happy Place, or ES Lelam. And as part of that construction, we have an area in the science wing that is a big, beautiful blank wall. And so we've hired Grace Edwards to come back to Dover, as she was a Dover graduate, and do a mural. So she's been collaborating with some of our students. I just have a couple images of things she did when she was a Dover student. And maybe Grace, if you could just talk about your process and how you're going about working with our students for the mural.
Yeah, so I think it was in late February I went to Dover and I sat with like a whole bunch of the students that are going to possibly be helping me work on the future murals. And I sat down and I actually took some notes, and I decided that for the murals we'd do 3 panels to represent the, what was it again? The words that you guys.
Yeah, so our vision, Dover Bay's vision statement.
Yes.
Yeah, kind, connected, and resilient school community.
Yeah, so I took some inspiration and decided to highlight these 3 words for them, because I think if this is going to be their vision statement, I think it'd also be nice to see it, you know, visually as well in their school. And so those are the 3 things that I started off, and I just asked the students what type of things come to mind when they think of those words. And so there I am writing down on my iPad, and we talked about the type of animals, the colors, just things that they thought about. And so I really took that into consideration, so that when I started doing the sketches, I did finish the sketches, and I have photos of them if you guys would like to see them afterwards, if there's time. But so I wanted the students to have the opportunity to be able to say, hey, I said that. I said that to Grace, and you know, there it is in the mural. So yeah, so it was really awesome. It was an awesome opportunity to really work with the kids and also just get their input on what they want to see in their school. So yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. HK Grace, I'm really excited. I hope you can just quickly share when I stop sharing my screen, maybe you can share the images with us. That would be really cool, I think. I haven't seen them yet myself. So another thing that we did at Dover for the first time was we hosted an Indigenous family night last month. It's something that we would like to do maybe 4 times a year going forward, but we invited all of our Indigenous families to celebrate like having our own space in the school. So I sent out this invitation, and we had our knowledge keeper from Snutnawis, Sumquatton. He came and he opened for us. He did a beautiful prayer. We had some beading. We had a table for beading and some coloring for the little kids. And it was just really awesome to have a turnout of our Indigenous families bring their students and come and mingle with myself and my ICSSW Rose and the admin and counseling staff. We do have a cook from Snutnawas. She cooks for the Big House, and she comes every month to our school and cooks with students, and she was able to prepare the food for us. And we had door prizes, which the students, drew, which was really fun. And we're planning another one for later this year when the weather's better. We're going to be doing like a family barbecue. So we're super excited about that. And yeah, I just feel like it's really important for Dover to build that relationship with our families, because we're such a big school and we have a lot of Indigenous families. And, a lot of the contacts I make, I mean, I'm emailing, I'm calling, we're talking about, it's school related. And I think it's just really important for us to build those bridges and, have like a social meeting at school and just make it fun and welcoming and inviting for our families. So actually the principal, Jeff Steele, asked for some feedback from our families while they were at the dinner. So I just cut and pasted some of these. We got some awesome feedback. As what Adam said, we have heard that people want Halkanitum classes in Dover Bay. And I feel like that is something that is just really important. And I'm going to be following up on it and hoping maybe it's something that we can do. Yeah, and students just want more. They just want more culture. They just want more after school groups and more communication. So we had a really positive, really positive feedback about the family night that we hosted. One more thing I just wanted to share with you is that, and I was super inspired by Seaview's presentation with their garden. We are actually going to be getting an Indigenous garden as well at Dover Bay. It was initially going to be, this is a photo of the first location, just right in front of the school, kind of between the bus loop and the parking lot and the front of the school. So we went out to tour it. We brought a bunch of our students that come to East regularly, and it was just really loud and noisy. And so Rose and I took the kids around the school, and we were looking at, the native plants that are already on the site. And we were lucky that we did that because the students identified another location that's a lot quieter and right outside of East that they wanted to have their Indigenous space, their Indigenous garden in. And we were lucky enough that this is going to be the location of our Indigenous garden. And you can see there's some beautiful Douglas fir trees. There was already birds chirping when we were out there. It looks like there are a lot of trees, but it's also pretty sunny. And I'm just really excited after seeing what Seaview had to see what we can come up with and how we can make our space, more welcoming for when Sumquatton does cultural teachings or maybe smudgings or ceremonies outside, or even just a space where we can go out and it's not super exposed and we can just do our thing out there. So I think that's really all I have. Mine's a lot shorter than Seaview's, but Heights Sepka for bearing with me. Let me just figure out how to stop sharing. Haven't done that in a while. There we go. Sorry, am I okay? I think it's all right. Yeah, Heights Sepka for your time. And Grace, can you share? Do you mind just quickly sharing what you have for the mural?
Yeah, I'll try my best. This is the first time I ever used this before, this Microsoft thing. So
yeah,
let's see. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see the kind, connected, and resilient?
No, we see a person with a cat, I think.
Oh, okay. That's still my background. Okay.
I love a cat though. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a big black one here, so.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to see if I can. Let's see if I can go back. Okay. Is it still my screen or
Still the cat.
still the cat? Okay.
The fish bones.
The fish
It's
bones.
fantastic.
Okay.
I love the perspective. It looks really cool. That is a really cool way of showing that. That is really neat.
Thanks. Okay, well, I guess it's not letting me do it.
Thank
Grace,
you for trying.
when you click the share button, sometimes right below the share button, there's a few different of your windows open that you can click the one that you want to share. So when you
Okay.
click the share button, look on your screen to see if there's more than, to see which document you want to be able to sharing. See if that pops up.
No, it's not. Here, maybe if I can just share it. See if I can share it as a link or something like that. If that's possible.
Grace, I think that it might mean that everybody should wait for the reveal
Okay.
ceremony.
Okay. That's okay. That's all good. It's yeah. I ended up doing like a whole bunch of like a first round of sketches and stuff like that. And I think definitely working with the students helped bring these images together really. And it was awesome to, because I took, I actually have my iPad here. Let's see if I can give you a sneak peek. I'll give you a sneak peek of one of them because my iPad's right here.
We would love that, but no pressure.
No pressure. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is a sneak peek. This is one of the students talked about how they wanted some deer in their mountain range, sunset, and for me living in Nanu's, obviously you can see in like the other sketch that I have for Seaview, it's another sunset kind of thing because like in Nanu's we're really well known once again for our sunsets, and it's very beautiful and tranquil, and it's when I think of sunsets I think of home. So yeah. And in my mural notes, some of the kids talked about how when they thought about kind, they thought about deer and sunsets and pink and ocean colors and stuff like that. So I ended up taking like notes like these, and I took whatever I could from my notes and I put that into one of the drawings. And so that one that I showed, that one's my favorite out of all of them. So it was my first time ever drawing a deer as well. So it was really interesting. It's a lot of, for me, I'm a self-taught artist, especially in the form line art forms. And so every year I'm learning something new about my own culture. So yeah. So thank you again for allowing me to do these murals and these paintings. This is really interesting to see how my art has, full circle. Okay, here's a cat. Full circle. I come from like my elementary school to my high school, and being able to share my art to these new generations is amazing. So I raise my hands to everyone here, allowing me to do what I love, so thank you.
Hi, Sepka.
Well done, you two. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle and Grace and the whole Dover Bay team for doing that. So thank you very much, and I'll return it to the chair if there's questions for our school folks before we let them go for this evening, and then return to the rest of the agenda.
I have too much to say. It's just been a real thrill to see a student go from the elementary to the high school to the university, back to the elementary into the high school. Like, everybody is amazed. If you read the chat, highly recommend you do. We're blown away, and thank you so much for creating that space for her to do that as well, right? To all the principals of both of the schools, and for recognizing that and for allowing her to do that. That's fantastic. Thank you. Haitsepka.
My phone is on fire right now with people wanting to show their appreciation to you too. So I'll connect with each of you individually. Grace next when you're at the school, and Michelle tomorrow. I am speechless. Well done, you two.
Looks like Naomi has a comment.
That's it's so wonderful to see, Michelle, the work that's happening at Dover, like a garden and having a room, and you've given it a Hulkaminum space, like with a name, and I think it's really beautiful. And I can see, just as a former Indigenous support teacher at Dover, that reconciliation is really happening. There was always an issue with funds for us, and trying to get elders in. Don, you were a big help with that when we managed to get a couple of elders in a couple times a month, but the funds were not there. So it's beautiful to see that you're capitalizing on that and putting together these great projects. And of course, Grace, you know how I feel about you. And Grace is a former student of mine. I taught her in Social Studies 10 and worked with her at Dover and got to witness the beautiful artwork of those big murals outside the school in the courtyard by the science wing. Keep on doing what you're doing. And like, I always knew you'd give back to your community. And yeah, thank you so much, Heichka.
Chair, or am I able to step in? And I'll just call Carrie Steele, Director of Instruction. Carrie Steele, to introduce our next and final presentation. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you. Wow, this is quite a night. Lots of really beautiful things have been shared so far. So I have the privilege of introducing our inclusion outreach, or some of the members of our inclusion outreach team this evening. So Trina Norgan, who is our Vice Principal of Inclusive Education, is joined by Shelley Seifried, who is the teacher in our inclusion outreach, elementary inclusion outreach program, and Sarah Stewart, who is the CYFSW, who supports that team. And they would like to share a little bit of their journey with some of our pretty complex and diverse kiddos that they've been working with this year. So really my role is to kind of hand things over to them. And I am going to share my screen this evening, and Trina will nod when she's ready for me to change slides. And yeah, I look forward to hearing. So I'll turn it over to the team.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carrie. And Heichka, for the beautiful and meaningful presentations already this evening. Grace, your art is absolutely incredible. My name is Trina Norgan. I am the District Vice Principal of Inclusive Education, and I'm here to give a very brief update on our inclusion outreach team and some of our elementary outreach supports that are currently in place. Yeah, thanks, Carrie. First, I want to acknowledge that all the work we do is directly connected to the goal of creating safe and caring, healthy learning and working environments that are inclusive of the diversity of our entire learning community. The Inclusion Outreach team has a diverse skill set pertaining to inclusive practice. So our team is made up of Inclusion Outreach coordinators, District Vice Principal of Inclusive Education, an elementary outreach teacher, Inclusion Outreach CYFSW, and inclusion support workers. We have a really diverse skill set pertaining to inclusive practice, and we are so fortunate to have an OT, a teacher, an ELL specialist, an inclusion support teacher, and a counselor on our team. We each provide direct service to students and to school teams. Our outreach members also provide direct support to families, caregivers, and of course collaborate intentionally with community partners. This is the guiding framework for our team. We provide support for students, school teams, and our system overall. So in addition to supporting students with Tier 3 needs, we provide opportunities to enhance inclusive practice throughout NLPS. We offer initiatives such as the Therapeutic Swim Program, student and site-specific nonviolent crisis intervention training. We support complex transitions to kindergarten, to secondary schools, and school to school. We support professional development opportunities for both our QP and NDTA members. Our coordinators are also district partners for provincial outreach programs such as PopFast and PopArd. This is a really zoomed out current snapshot of some of the data collected on our team. We're currently involved or working in 28 of our elementary schools, 4 of our secondary schools. Our team is supporting 192 students currently. 41 of those students are connected to outreach. 16 of those who are on full outreach support have made a full return to school, and 19 of those students are currently connected to outreach as well as sometime in their home building. We're also currently trialing for our outreach students the CAFAS, which is a child and adolescent functional skills tool to assess the efficacy of our outreach support. We are continually reflecting on our interventions and assess outreach opportunities every 6 weeks. We're questioning what is working well, what needs to be tweaked, what can we layer for greater success, and how can we transfer the skills that are being developed. Elementary outreach is a support provided for students with varying complex needs. It is not a program that students attend, but it is a support that we provide. So we support learners who are not attending or currently engaged with school. And for this, that means that some of our learners have actually not returned to school since pre-COVID. Some learners we also support who may be on a reduced schedule at school due to stamina or risk behaviors. For some of our students, their access to outreach opportunities supplements their bricks and mortar school programming, thus allowing them to attend a full day of school. Our outreach model is built on extending the student's care team. So we provide individualized, intensive wraparound support for our students and caregivers while working closely with the family and the school team. Together, we determine goals for our students and how outreach can support them in intentional skill development. Outreach supports look quite different based on student and family need. So we want to offer a variety or a range of supports to eliminate potential barriers for our families and for our students, and to really re-engage students with where they are at. Outreach support is fluid and continually evolving. For some, they may begin with group and individual support, and then we'll shift it to more in-school support as they transition back to their home school. So currently, these are some of the opportunities that are offered both by our outreach teacher and our CYFSW. So we provide transition support, individual support, group support, in-school support, of course, working with our community partners and making referrals, and home-based support. This is our elementary outreach learning space at Dufferin. In this room, we have a grade 6-7 group that attends 4 days a week, and these are for our students who were previously or who have not been engaged or attending school. So there we have a really high engagement overall, and we have students attending this group 4 days a week. We also have a primary social group attending 3 afternoons a week. In addition, we connect with individual students, caregivers, and members of school teams in this space. We've recently been hosting members of school teams to look through and borrow the resources that we use with our students in sharing those tools, as well as many school teams are now setting up similar spaces for students to access within their own buildings. We ensure that the strategies and the tools that we use to support students are transferable, meaning that they are suitable and can be replicated in the classroom or in their school buildings. Now, I'm just going to pass it over to Shelley and to Sarah, who are just going to give you another brief snapshot of a couple of learners that we support.
My name is Sarah Stewart. I'm the Child, Youth and Family Support Worker for the Inclusion Outreach Team. I'd first like to acknowledge how grateful I am to be coming to this meeting from the traditional unceded territory of the Stenivas First Nation. I'm just going to brief overview of 2 of our students who are participating in outreach services. The first is a grade 7 student who, prior to participating in outreach services, had sporadic attendance at their catchment school, was disengaged from their learning, highly dysregulated, and was exhibiting unsafe behaviors which were impacting their learning. This student has been attending our grade 6-7 group consistently 4 days a week. They are accessing that group by BC Transit independently, coming to and from, and they are arriving most days early and ready to engage both socially and academically. This student, along with all of our students who are in grade 7, we are working on really intentional transition planning to secondary and really forming those lines of communication so we can limit the barriers for them. The second student I want to speak to is a grade 2 student who engages in more of a hybrid program with an intensive wraparound approach between school and the Inclusion Outreach Team. This student is engaged in their learning and following routines and transitions. They are a student who's attending the social group 3 days a week at the Dufferin location. Prior to connecting with the Inclusion Outreach Team, there was a breakdown in the relationship between school and family. However, with additional relationship building and fostering those relationships, there is now a positive partnership with daily communication, where this family is now reaching out for additional supports for VICAN assessment, as well as navigating the medical system and resources within the community, which is fantastic, and it's lovely to see. The last point I want to make is just how much we are really striving to build relationships between school, the Inclusion Outreach Team, community, and families, and how in doing so and creating those relationships, it's really creating a meaningful long-term success for both our students and our families. And it's really a goal of ours that I think we are doing successfully. So thank you very much for the space and time to speak to you briefly on those 2 students, and I'm going to pass it back along to Trina.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. And again, this is just a really brief update of just a tiny snapshot of some of the supports that we're offering. The team is doing incredible, meaningful work across the system, and we're seeing, some real wonderful success for our students and families. Thank you, Carrie. I'll pass it back to you, I guess.
Great, thank you so much. And I know the team is happy to answer questions or follow up on anything that folks would like more information about this evening.
Yes, Tanya has a question. Trustee Burzovich.
Yeah, I'm here, but I was thinking, did you want to go back and do the questions from the question we missed from Naomi first? Or do you want to?
Yes, thank you very much, Tanya, for that reminder. There was a question Naomi wanted to ask the previous presentation, and unfortunately we didn't get to that. So if we could do that now, if you're okay with that for a few moments, we'll go back for a little bit and then we'll come back to this topic as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. There's been so many good presentations and everything. I know we just kind of got lost in the, next presentation. So Ricky, I have a question. I have a question with a bit of a concern, or it's in regards to the First Peoples English. So we have the 10 right now, it's current. But I noticed in the write-up that you're going to add 12 as well. So it's going to be mandatory. Will they have to take English First Peoples 12?
Yeah. So Dawn, help me out if you,
maybe
would like to with
I'll
the
add,
timeline piece.
Yeah.
Around the years.
Yeah, and I'll share that. So the announcement that came out in August, the end of August of this past year, was for the Indigenous focused grad requirement to be implemented for the grad class of 2024. Yeah. We already had, as Ricky mentioned, plans in place for the English First Peoples 10 for this school year, including the pilot from the previous year. So this school year, the students that are taking English First Peoples 10 can use that as their Indigenous focused grad requirement, but they don't graduate until 2025. So across the province, all districts have to have an Indigenous focused course for this current group of students in grade 11. And most districts around the province are using English First Peoples 12 to meet that grad requirement for next year. And the ministry, in partnership with FNESC, traveled around and did regional workshops for teachers. And we had, I believe, 13 or 14 of our teachers participate in that regional one up in Courtenay for English First Peoples 12. So all of our students in the 2024 grad year will be completing English First Peoples 12. We also believe that English First Peoples 12 is the course that we want to support for all of our students to have, and that we want to introduce them as well to the Indigenous focused grad requirements in the English First Peoples 10 as well, because that's the beginning of the grad program and the first opportunity to have an Indigenous focused course, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I just have a concern that we're not allowing students to make choices in their Indigenous focused content course. And I feel that doing it for grade 10 is one thing, but then adding grade 12 to that is a whole other dilemma. And I have some concerns around it. Ricky kind of reassured me, but just, I know a lot of the content we offer the First Peoples English requirement at VIU in the ABE department too. And we've had lots of issues with some of the literature and stuff that we're using is deeply embedded in trauma related stories. And, I feel very strongly that students should be experiencing Indigenous culture and traditions. We're talking language, like the land-based learning they're doing in Ladysmith, which we had a beautiful presentation on. To me, I would love to see our students getting those experiences and learning about the people that live here and reside here and what is their connection to land, their stewardship with the land, having that land-based knowledge, which ties into our environmental goals as well. And I see that if we're saying they have to do this and they have to do that, and then and those stories that the the learning that they're doing is very valuable, but it's also embedded in a lot of tragedy and stuff, which students get in social studies in grade 4. They learn about culture and history, and in grade 10 and in grade 9, they have our colonization, all those that piece of our history, the terrible part of our history with our relationship with Indigenous people. They learn that there. And as a former educator, I always wanted students to learn the beauty of the culture as well. And, I always tried to end my teachings with, look at the wonderful role models we have and that sort of stuff. My concern is that it's all about tragedy. And I could be wrong here, but I would like to see us look at the beautiful things, like what Adam's doing and what they're doing in Ladysmith, and have those options. But what I'm afraid of is that students are expected to take these courses, or they have to take them. So a lot of students are going to feel that because they're being pushed to do that, they're not going to want to go. And it's not just Indigenous students that I think need to be taking land-based learning. They're not going to want to go into those courses. That's my little spiel.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
and
I'll mention a couple of things, Dawn, you can jump in. So basically what the plan is currently is that we're using EFP 12 as the First Peoples graduation requirement, right? The requirement's 4 credits, and English First Peoples 12 is 4 credits. We know that students that are 18 are, much more mature in their development and probably, going into society in, months, able to handle some of the more tragedy themed, as your words were, like resources and stuff like that. We are really working with our, that's why we've been doing these workshops, really bringing in local knowledge keepers, people from our nations, Adam, other Hul'qumi'num teachers, to really try to bring, that's the culture that we want embedded into that learning, right? And visible. I think that if everybody had a land and language program like LSS does, it would be a perfect world in our district. And the reality is that we just don't yet. And I think that that's always going to be the goal as we move forward, wanting to recreate what they have created so beautifully there. But take NDSS, for example, the number of sections for EFP 12 would be 13, right? So to have a beautiful program like that with a Hul'qumi'num teacher and a Snuneymuxw elder and classroom teacher running that program, to run 13 blocks of something like that in a school just isn't quite realistic either. And so trying to find ways to, as we grow as a district in this new way of implementing First Peoples, having a variety of options for students to choose from is absolutely, I agree with you, an optimal model. And this is just kind of where we're starting, using the EFP 12 as the grad requirement, and then EFP 10, really just putting it in there as that 2 credit piece where students are getting, a taste of it, and also having the choice to choose the new media or literary studies, and the other flavorings that come with EFP 10. So kind of having a little bit of each. It works out to only be about 3 units of FP courses throughout that English 10 course. So just that introduction piece, that anti-racism strategy piece with the EFP 10, and just trying to really have our Indigenous learners at the grade 10 level see themselves early on in their grad program year. That's a year that we tend to lose a lot of Indigenous students at traditional high schools. So just giving them that opportunity to be in class and learn about, see their culture being taught. So that was sort of our rationale around it. Dawn?
And I'll just add that I know when the ministry was was talking about having an Indigenous focused grad requirement. The work had been done over the last couple of years. They did lots of work around the province to do that. And one of the pieces that I think was a decision in the ministry moving forward with this on a short timeline was that historically about 5% of graduates across the province graduated with a course that had an Indigenous focus. And the ministry was very much committed to having all students have a broader experience in Indigenous focused curriculum. And so that's why they didn't say, you know, we could implement things over a 3, 4, 5, 6 year window. They made the announcement in August of last year that the grad class of 2024 would graduate with 4 credits of an Indigenous focused course. And our students had already done course selections going into grade 11 for this year. So this cohort of grade 11s across the province will almost exclusively be doing English First Peoples 12 to meet that ministry requirement. And while it's created lots of pressure to support the teachers to make sure that they are confident and ready to teach the courses, we would not for a moment say that the ministry should have waited any longer. We're 100% in agreement that the time is now, and so we're going to move ahead in a really good way with EFP 12. And then we will build out more of those land and language courses and locally developed BOC courses in partnership and co-created with our local nations, so that students can, as you said, Naomi, can have all different kinds of curricular experiences in areas that that may not be quite as heavy or as literature focused as an English First Peoples 12 class.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm not arguing against the ministry implementing this. I actually got very emotional when I saw that they were doing this. I just have a reticence when we're forcing, especially a senior English class, when we're saying that they have to take this English to graduate. I have a reticence with that. But Ricky, you made some really good comments. I agree with you that I think at the grade 10 level, getting a snapshot is really, really good. And it's like you said, like the more, like Adam mentioned it when his teacher came, when that teacher came in that classroom and said, hey, how come you're not teaching to your audience, right? And so, you know, students feel much more included. And I know that, you know, myself from my own experiences. So yeah, I'm just putting that out there just as a thought. Like I always strongly believe as an educator and as a person growing up Indigenous, that the only stories I ever heard were the sad ones. And the experiences I had were the negative stereotypes. And I'm looking at the beautiful work that's being done in our communities. And I would just love our youth who are non-Indigenous to see the beautiful things about the culture here. And if we can work really hard at getting that going in our district, that would just be magnificent. So thank you so much. Appreciate your answers very much.
Thank you, Naomi. Tom, you said you had a question, and I'm not sure if it's for Dover or if it's for the last presentation.
Yeah, it was on the same topic, Chair. I just had a point of clarification. When we're talking about making EFP 12 mandatory this year for English 12, really simple, is this in addition to the traditional English 12 requirement or in replace of? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so
In replace of.
yeah, that's I can see the concern. That's fairly prescriptive. I understand the urgency and the timely nature of it, but yeah, so I just wanted to clarify because I'm kind of feeling some of the concerns, not concerns, but just some of the vision perhaps that Naomi's sharing about where we could be going. And yeah, I wouldn't want to get too prescriptive. I know I spent time with, you know, mandatory French, and you know what kind of culture can develop around that stuff. So we have much more beautiful way to go with this, as we've seen tonight and through Adam and Grace's work. So thank you for doubling down on the expansion in that direction.
Thank you, Tom. Leanne. I do apologize. We didn't do this before. So go ahead, Leanne.
Thanks, Chantel. Through you, I just wanted to make a comment. Having a learner that has gone through EFP 10 at Dover Bay, that the teacher did a really great job with the new class and was very helpful in how she taught the lessons. And one of the books that was chosen to be read, like I read it with my learner, and it was actually like he enjoyed it. It was great. And they were very fortunate to use some cotton to come in and do the lessons as well, which ties everything back together. I would say more to Naomi, to your piece about, you know, the land and the culture. He was very good at doing that for the students. So I think we're getting there. I just think it's new and people are nervous, but I do think there are some really positive experiences that are happening for our students right now with this class. Thanks.
Thank you for that, ma'am. If anybody has any more questions, now is your chance to ask the previous group. Going once, going twice. Okay, I know that Tanya had a question for the elementary outreach team group.
Thank you. I actually have a bunch of stuff, but I'll keep it simple, and I'm sure others have questions too. From a really practical perspective, for the students who are coming in the like 3 days or the 4 days a week, is there support for parents or families if they need it for around the transportation in terms of the cost of a bus or yeah?
Yes, so we can either support them with cost of bus or alleviate costs other ways, but we've actually had a lot of partnership from our schools where CYFSWs are helping support the transportation to get students to the group as well. So we're doing lots of creative ways. We would never want a barrier to be that the family is responsible only for transporting.
Yeah.
For
I figured that, but I just needed to check.
Absolutely.
And a follow up to that, in terms of as you say, it's the 4 afternoons is this programming like a set number of weeks, or is it for as long as the parent and staff deem that it's appropriate for the child to continue, or how does that piece work, the transitioning out?
So for our grade 6-7 group, these are students who are non-attenders who had not been attending at their elementary schools previously. So since engaging with group, some of them have varying, like they are all willing to re-engage with schools in different ways. Some are not there yet. And the fact that they're engaging with our group is this, we look at the starting point. Sarah's already doing some work to transition back to their home school. So it's not 10 weeks is going to be 10 weeks for all students. Some may need 2 weeks of really intensive support, and how can we branch them back to a school team that's ready, willing, super engaged and ready to receive them. And then others, it might be a longer, much slower intentional journey. So, but we do every 6 weeks, well, every day, but also really intentionally every 6 weeks, we sit down and we look at where things are at. And if things are a little bit stagnant, then how do we, what strategies do we need to tweak to ensure some momentum and some success?
Yeah. So what you're saying is the clear goal is to help the child and the family to get back into their home school.
Yes, I would say that.
And I just want to jump in and kind of build on that a little bit, because one piece of the team, I caught it because I know what it looked like when Trina said it, but I think people who haven't been beside the work may have missed the reference to it. So we have this classroom that was created at Dufferin, which is providing this very specific service to a population of kids, knowing that transportation is a barrier and just frankly expensive if we're supporting with lots of it too. And also our end game is kids engaging at neighborhood school with the community of children that they're in the neighborhood with, and are engaging in play dates and birthday parties and all of those kinds of things with. We had a couple of school communities where actually the number of students who would benefit from outreach style support was significant enough that we commandeered a little bit of space at the school. And so for a little while we had a program we were calling InReach Outreach, which was the outreach team helping the on-site school create something that was fashioned around the structure that Outreach had been using at the Dufferin site, but tailored very specifically to that school community for that population of learners. I don't know if Shelley wants to pop on and speak to it at all. She spent some time helping the school team get it going, and then now she's faded out and is doing that for other schools because the school that she started with is ready to run it by themselves now. So I don't know, Shelley, if you want to offer a couple words on that.
Well, I hate talking in front of people. Yeah, it's been fabulous with Georgia Ave, the Outreach Inreach, and they've just ran with it after I left at the beginning of spring break. We have another room up and running at Forest Park, and it's just in its infancy, but it's going really, really well. It's nice having, like, we have a system. We come in, we know visuals, we know the routine, and it's so exciting to help these schools get their own version of our Outreach and Reach going and being able to support them. And they're so grateful, and the kids are so fabulous. And see, I get rambling, Carrie. I just am so excited about the whole thing, but it's been fabulous.
Yeah, well, and it just ripples in the pond, right? Like, it's something that's being replicated across the system, but not identically replicated, because it is really tailored to the individual site and the needs of the kids that are at that school at this time, right? So it's pretty special actually watching how individualized it is all over the place. So
thanks, Holly. That's fantastic. Okay, I could think of more questions, but I see others have questions too, so I'll wait and see if I need to get back on the list, depending what others ask.
Sounds good. Leanne has a question.
Hi, I really appreciate the report on this, because I remember when this was an ask from the department, and you were really excited to see what you could do and how you could make this work, for the best outcome for students. So I'm really glad to see that it is working. My question is, and I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but to my knowledge, I feel like this was like a one-time special budget allocation that was made. So I'm going to ask, are you adding this to your budget request for the upcoming year to continue this program?
Through this chair. Yes, we have moved. Our intention is to move the inclusion outreach support, all things inclusion, into our regular budget.
Okay, thanks. No follow-up, Chantel.
Great. Mark, you were next.
Perhaps just a brief clarification is that when the board passed the support for the program last year, it was on an ongoing basis, not a one-time basis. So now if Learning Services added through various transfers, then that would be something different. But the base program, I can't remember the exact number we added to the base budget last year though, but that is continuing.
Great. Mark Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Carrie and Trina, for introducing us to Sarah and Shelley. The presentation was eye-opening on so many levels. The importance that the program has. Lots of questions, but I'll try to keep it brief. If I have any more, I'll email later. The large range of supports that you illustrated in your project, my question is, in terms of the risk behaviors, are we finding in the district with risky behaviors a large increase in things like marijuana use, vaping, this sort of thing? Because I saw a report yesterday that up to 25% of kids across Canada in high school have tried vaping at least a few times in 30 days. Are we seeing an increase at the elementary level in our district?
Yes.
Yes, I guess like without knowing like cold hard data, but I would see like the prevalence of students engaging in risk behavior in the community for our upper intermediate has been something that we've all sort of remarked and noticed. So I feel like it's so I've always thought of it's important, but it seems to be this year more than ever to really engage our learners who are not engaging with their home schools and connecting them to opportunities, safe, trusted adults, and peer connection.
And I think, you know, knowing that that's part of our current context, one of the things that is, I mean, it's always been important, but it's, you know, we have to kind of double down on our networking and our helping families accessing the opportunities that are available in the community, the resources and supports and things. And I think that's, I mean, our schools do that work really, really well. But I think having a person in an outreach capacity, you know, like Sarah spends a lot of time standing on doorsteps, talking with parents and meeting parents in the community and bridging transportation to places. And while our school teams do that work, families that are nervous about coming to school or experiencing barriers to coming to the schoolhouse don't need to find their way anywhere near it for the outreach support to be able to kind of bridge them to some of those pieces. And so I think sometimes the relationship started in a little pocket somewhere in the neighborhood, and then it's the bridging to school that's allowing it to be sustained and work. So yeah, it's we need everybody in the neighborhood, all of our resource people and supports to help us wrap around the kids right now, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so very much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Robertson.
Trustee Bailey, please, is next on the list.
Okay, I have a twofold question, comment first. When we voted on this last year, there was, I would say there was probably at least a couple trustees that were a little bit unsure of funding this, if you can recall. I was one of them. I was, one of the comments that was made was that, I think it was Trustee Higginson that actually had said it, that we would, one of the things that she wanted to see was a full evaluation of the program and its success. And I did see some numbers in this presentation, but I kind of wanted to know, like, some more specific data around like regular attendance for the students that are, you know, coming with their parents part-time, trying to merge them back in. Maybe some more information on what they're doing actually when they're there in a meeting, what kind of learning are they doing, that sort of thing. So I feel like I just need to kind of carry that torch and follow through with that. My other question was actually directed to Mark. I was under the impression that this was sort of a one-shot, this was a surplus we had in our budget, and that's what, so it was kind of a one-shot deal that we would review based on whether or not we had the funding or not. I'm a little confused.
Shall I start with the second part first, Chair? Yes, thank you for the question. So this was one of the first reinvestments because of increased enrollment in our district that was an ongoing basis. Of course, I think that the instruction of the board was, yes, we're going to institute this, and then we want to hear about how it's going, so anything can be reviewed. But no, it did not come out of surplus.
Okay.
Well, sorry, I should say it came out of a structural surplus in the sense that we had kind of permanent ongoing money that we were able to believe that was going to continue. And when we come to the business committee next week, we will be projecting at the very minimum a status quo budget. So this would be built into the budget still.
I can maybe speak to the data piece a little bit through the chair. We do have individual attendance data on the students. We do have individualized supportive plans for each of the students. Any of the students who are attending this program are followed by an integration plan because they are not attending their neighborhood school full time. So we have created plans for them that track the criteria for increasing time. We have ongoing data collection regarding their progress that's reviewed with the family and the schools on a regular basis. the cohort of students that are followed under those highly individualized programs is a small enough cohort that to provide individual numbers and data in a public meeting might share some confidential details that would identify some of the students. So I don't feel comfortable presenting that kind of information in a public meeting. Certainly if the board has a wish for some more specific data, if you follow up with some questions after, then obviously we'll do what we can to prepare the information that you would like. But we want to be really cautious. These are highly vulnerable, marginalized families, and we want to be really careful to protect their identity and their experiences. So but we're happy to help, provide whatever information would be helpful in your decision making.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Carrie. Yeah, I just remember last year, one of my arguments or my questions or comments around it was just my concern of, needing more supports in the schools, directly in the schools. And I think that's kind of what I was leaning towards at that time. And then you gave a very good argument back to me response back. But I would appreciate, I think maybe providing us, with some statistics outside of a public meeting would be a great thing if it was possible.
We can certainly look into what we can prepare. I think another piece that you referenced in your comments just now, that in terms of providing supports in the school and making the decision to provide district level support versus school-based support. I think another piece of data that we actually didn't bring tonight, but we could have, is the feedback from the schools about how they are experiencing this. We don't think of it as outreach or school. We think of it as one big continuum, and we pick the places and the environments and the individuals that are in the best position to provide what's needed for the child and family. So outreach does consider themselves to be an extension of the school's teams. We have many school teams that anecdotal feedback, the conversation we're having at the table at school teams is that they feel this is an incredible support to them, because they worry about their students that they can't have at school, either because the family's experiencing barriers and the child's refusing to come, or the family can't get them there, or because the level 3 risk behaviors they're exhibiting make it too unsafe to have them at school all day, or their stamina doesn't allow them to be at school all day. They are getting a more fulsome educational program because they can access both types of opportunities. School teams feel really supported by that. I think the expansion of the in-house functional interventions that we've been creating school teams are, it is building capacity across the system. School teams are seeing a model that they're able to respond to and creating similar environments in their schools. So I think we're up to 5 or 6 schools now that have a version of a setting that is providing this type of intervention, and more asking all the time. We did have a meeting where we informally invited people to come and learn more about that structure, and I think we had 12 schools represented at that meeting, completely optional after hours, and people were hungry for this information and are expressing that they feel it's really valuable. Some of the information that we're collecting isn't attendance data. It's more anecdotal narrative information from how it's impacting the kind of ebb and flow of the family and classroom experiences. So that's something we could pull together for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I start talking about individual kids, I'll start crying anyway, so it's probably not the right place for that part.
Tanya, you are next in the speakers list.
Thank you. And my questions actually follows up nicely, I think, maybe with what Naomi just asked. And you've hit on it a little bit, but I think one of the things, and Trustee Morvay can tell you that she and I have had these conversations in car rides together, is it can't always be about changing the child or changing the parent or changing the family. It's making the system be responsive. If the child's a square peg, we got to give him a square hole, and how are we doing with that? How can we as a board better support schools in terms of advocacy, in terms of what should we be advocating for to get the system to be more responsive to the uniqueness of our kids, I guess. That's a big one, I know.
It is a big question, but it's the question. right? How do we become more responsive and meet the needs of our families and our communities differently? So I don't know, Trina, did you want to speak to?
I feel sort of like some of the initiatives that we're doing this year are exactly that. We know that what you're saying is that keep trying to fit the students into a square hole, it's not working. So especially for our students engaging in a hybrid program where they're attending bricks and mortar school, they're homeschool for the morning, and then coming to an outreach opportunity in the afternoon or a social group in the afternoon, they are having such a wide range of experience, pure connection to different trusted adults, and you're seeing them have definitely more success in their home buildings and definitely having success. So we're seeing the transfer of skills, absolutely. And I feel like this is sort of a really unique intervention and support and response that's really meeting the needs of our students that have such highly individualized, complex tier 3 needs. It's incredibly responsive. I'm so thankful that the board supported it last year and that we're able to see some of the benefits this year, for sure.
Yeah, I certainly do support it. I mean, you all remember how supportive I was of it last year, and I still support it. I think, and this is not a question as much as a comment and something for us to chew on and think about. I think it's really important as we do our Jedi work that we really spend some time looking at unconscious, implicit, I can never remember which one's which, but those biases around kids with disabilities, kids with diverse needs, you know. It's one of the reasons I gush so much about Dr. Vanessa Lapointe and why I would love to bring her into Nanaimo to work with our parents and work with our staff, because she talks about it, and she talks about her own child and difficulties he had in the education system, and how we just need to respect and acknowledge that some kids maybe aren't ready for it, you know, for what that aren't built, you know, for the way our industrial revolution system, you know. I'm trying to talk about Bronfenbrenner without talking about Bronfenbrenner, and you know, how we have it instilled in us around certain cultures, you know, cultural ways of beings, and it's the whole decolonizing the system.
Can I follow up on a piece of that?
Please.
Yeah, so I think exactly. I think I mean, one of the tensions we've been dancing all year, and we were just talking about it with Trustee Bailey a little bit, I think, is that it's really hard if you're looking through a you know, Jedi lens and you're trying to decolonize practice and break down some of those industrial pieces. Getting your hands on the numeric data and the nuts and bolts isn't the way to tell the story sometimes. I think that data is important for sure, and we need to take a look at it. But I think it's the anecdotal pieces. It's like I'm thinking of a student in our system who has always struggled in the school environment. We know it's a very taxing setting for this learner, that, you know, a building of 300 people and bells and lights and bodies in the hallway and teachers who tell you to put stuff away when you're not quite finished, and all of the stuff that happens in a classroom is super stressful for him, even when all of the supports and wraparound are happening for him in that setting. And so you know, he's one of the kiddos who's been part of the outreach interventions, but the stuff that you learn in a different setting doesn't transfer all by itself back into school. So the outreach staff worked with him. The outreach staff came with him into the school and helped build strategies there, and then did the handoff to the school team, where everybody took the time it took to have the conversations, to do the modeling, to do the practicing, to let the family come to the school and be part of the conversation. All of the pieces that sometimes get hurried or even missed when we're not able to kind of slow things down and be that individual. And I think it's a leap of faith to put that kind of programming and structure in place. I think, you know, you asked at the beginning of your question, what can the board do to help advocate and further some of this stuff? It's the leap of faith to try some of these different things that let us be really different in the way we interact across the system. And I'm so appreciative that we got this opportunity this year, because I think some of the individual stories are profound, and it's kiddos who have never been able to engage. Like, it's not a pandemic situation. It's a thing that's always been challenging for the kiddos. And we see now that it's just different. And some of them have gone back to school full time because they were able to do that, or they were ready to do that. And other kids, it may never be a, 8 to 2 kind of existence for them in a schoolhouse. And that's okay, because we have a different way to provide for their needs now. So yeah, I'm super excited about the beginnings of this. And we're only 7 months in, but I think it has had a really big impact on some of our most vulnerable kiddos.
Thank you, Chair. Hope I haven't taken all of the questions that you wanted to ask.
No, I've got lots. But I'm only going to keep it to like 1 or 2 here, because it's getting late, and I'm trying to respect everyone's time here. So I don't see anybody else on the list, so I'm going to take up some space here and ask my questions. But yes, you all did ask a lot of the questions I was going to ask. So thank you for that. I'm wondering about, you talked about the in-reach outreach programs that are kind of in the school, and sort of talks about, creating that environment in the school so that the child can be there in the way they need to be there. Does that, with Forest Park and Georgia, does that become a partial day program as well? Is that like a hybrid thing as well? Or is it more like a sensory room, something like that? How does that look like within the school setting?
So it's a really highly structured group for a certain cohort of students, and then they transition back to their classrooms following the group. So for Georgia, they did, I think, a Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, and then we have them running at Fairview. We have them running at Forest Park as well. So in all of those schools, I believe the students were grades 1, 2, and 3, and then the focus is on developing some essential skills. So being able to transition, follow a schedule. It's all highly play-based, lots of social facilitation, and a lot of connection. And the groups are usually about an hour and a half, follow like a highly consistent routine, structure, again, all play-based, and lots of outdoor learning happening there as well. And then doing really explicit skill building so that those skills can hopefully transfer to the classroom and allow them to have greater success in the classroom and with their peers.
I just want to add one thing, Trina.
Yes.
So, like, for example, at Fairview, between the 2 ISTs, they're actually running it now 5 days a week. So then that way they can have smaller groups throughout the week. And I know with Forest Park, the plan is too, like, once I'm out of there between the 2 ISTs, again, they'll be running it 5 days a week. So it becomes a really great opportunity for the, like, even smaller groups when needed. That's it.
And these are groups of students with really complex needs. So also it alleviates some EA support. So when you have the students all together in groups that are being facilitated by inclusion support teachers or members of school-based team and outreach supporting as well, it alleviates EAs to support in other areas where they may not have been given the chance earlier because they would have been one-on-one with a student there. So that has been something that these school teams have been really appreciative of too, because it allows them to allocate resources a little bit differently when outreach is coming into support.
Yeah, and it's quite different from interventions that have been offered historically, where there may have been a space set up that kids came to for work completion, or just a little bit of support with some activities or something. This is like, the staff does a lot of time mapping out the individual needs of the cohort of children that will attend, and they take time to plan really targeted, specific, highly individualized goals. Even though the kids are together, the 5 people in the room might actually be working on 5 different goals while they're there. So it's really, really focused intentionally on their needs, with a goal to building independence, to building agency, and building peer connections, so that when they go back to the classroom, they are more successful and are able to navigate that environment more comfortably.
And feel free to come stop in and see us in action.
Great. I'm wondering what you talk about capacity building and resources. Is that for the teachers and the EAs and the people in the system? Is that what, could you explain a little bit more about that? What's happening for them to build their capacity and their resource and their toolkit basically,
Yes.
and their ability to do the work they need to do?
Sure. So we have different opportunities. Some is more universal. So we might host members of the school-based team or inclusion support teachers in our Dufferin learning space or in the learning space we've created at Georgia or Fairview to do almost like a show and tell of the learning space and some of the structures that we are created in, if anybody's wanting to replicate that at a school building and how we can support. Some of the capacity building is much more sort of student specific. So I'm thinking of a student that attends one of our outreach opportunities, and we've done really direct skill building about using like a regulation strip for how he's going to access a break. So then once he's developed that and he's feeling comfortable and he's practicing using it within our outreach room, then we're going and coaching the school team on that system so that they're ready to receive and embrace that strategy for him at the school. So it goes between like really highly student specific and how we coach and work with teams around our student needs and the strategies they're using to kind of more universal, here's first then strips, or here's a shape of the day, or here are some strategies that are really successful in a much more global sense. So again, it's quite the range of opportunities that we can provide.
Right. I have in mind UDL, Universal Design for Learning. Is that something that's part of that that building the whole classroom so that all the children can benefit from that? Because I know we all do, right? Like you make a ramp, everybody can access that ramp. So yes. Okay, great.
I think too, I don't know, Trina, if you want to speak to the other kind of arm of the team a little bit. We've been talking tons tonight about the outreach piece of inclusion outreach, but our inclusion support coordinators actually spend more time in schools. They don't focus on the outreach side as much. So I don't know if you want to speak to the work that, like just briefly, the other coordinators and also the NCI work that you do, because I think that's
yes,
big piece of this too.
So elementary outreach is it's a support and intervention that's provided under the umbrella of the inclusion outreach team. So we have our inclusion outreach coordinators or inclusion support coordinators who provide much more of the direct service and support in schools. So that's programming for students that are attending, and then of course providing, like looking at the UDLs, enhancing tier 1 practice, and then how do we meet our students with tier 3 needs. I'm myself an NCI trainer, so I do a lot of student specific and site specific NCI training throughout the district, and we've done a lot of capacity building, of course, around that in the past few years.
Oh, sorry, I thought somebody had something else to say, and I have a question, 2 more quick questions. There's pop art, but there was the other one that was mentioned, and I'm trying to see where I wrote that down now.
It's Pop Fast.
Pop Fast. What is Pop Fast?
It's fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, and then we
Okay.
also have a provincial outreach for, oh my goodness, now I can't even think, Perf Poppy.
Poppy is early years.
Yes,
but there's also the provincial inclusion outreach team, which is kind of like ours, only on a provincial scale, resource people. So and those programs, I mean, as district partners, our coordinators are privy to specific training opportunities for themselves to deepen their toolkits and bring things back. But they also have access to a whole bunch of print and virtual resources that they share out with the team. So that's another way that we support capacity building, is to make sure those provincial resources are available.
Awesome. That's fantastic. My last question, have you heard of the low arousal approach? I keep telling everybody it's fantastic. It's something to look into. I think it's a great crisis management tool, and now they have like free webinars and stuff like that on their website for Studio 3. Some really great stuff for families as well to look into. So I highly recommend people check out the low arousal approach there. It's pretty fantastic. Yeah.
One of our coordinators went over to the Lower Mainland and checked it out and was sharing the learning, and it's really an exciting initiative. So
It is. It's
Yeah.
really exciting. So I'm excited to hear that you guys have started hearing
Yes,
about it too. It's starting to get out there. So that's fantastic. I am done with my questions for now. If anybody else has any more questions, I'm going to look in the chat here. Okay, I don't see any. So thank you very much for your presentation and giving us an update on that. Yeah, we've all been very curious about it, and I'm sure we might have actually more questions for you. It's very new. You know, in my personal professional life, this is something that, you know, is you know, one of those concerns, and we do need something. Something needs to happen. You know, we can't just say, okay, well, you know, we'll just deal with it, sort of thing, right? And I'm glad that this has been acknowledged that this is something we need to work on and get a good team going to do that. Thank you very much for that.
And again, thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity for coming and being able to share tonight. I know it was really a small snapshot that's probably led to more questions. And Shelley's not being facetious. If we could ever host you, if you ever wanted to do a visit to the Dufferin Learning Space, you're always welcome. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Board.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah. You'll be seeing me and Tanya there. I think all of us, actually. We're all very curious. So
I would so love that.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And I believe we are going to go on now to, if I'm correct, to the correspondence referred from the regular board meeting. I don't see any. There's no unfinished business. And now for new business, we have Trustee Robinson. That's the notice of motion, student representation at education committee meetings. And I will turn it over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mindful of the time this evening, we're running almost 3 hours here. I'm going to keep it short and simple because I have emailed the trustees previously a bit of the background. So if any members of the committee outside of the trustees, DPAC, NDTA, QP have any questions, feel free to ask. In a nutshell, this is hoping to you know, get student representation on the education committee. So I'll read the motion. I have a question for staff before I do, though, through you, Chair. The wording of the motion is the Education Committee recommends that the Board of Education of School District 68. I was aiming for the Education Committee recommends that the Board of Education's Education Committee of School District 68, because I'm hoping the Education Committee has the robust discussion, not the board, so then the stakeholders have a bit of play in it. Can I amend that on the spot, Madam Chair, or staff?
Mark?
So through you, Chair, the motion hasn't been moved yet, so it can be moved any way that the mover seeks to move it. It's just written as the way that it was given notice, and it's just following our typical form because it's always a committee recommending to the board, because a committee can take no action in itself. And so it's just following the regular form that we typically follow. But if you choose to move it in a different way, just as you read it before, as you got to wait for a seconder, that's the way that it would be put into the minutes.
Right. Thank you through Chair to Mark. Thank you. Okay, I'll read the motion then. I move that the Education Committee recommends that the Board of Education's Education Committee of School District 68 and Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools have a robust discussion on student inclusion and engagement with respect to student representation at the Education Committee and produce a recommendation for the Board of Education for implementation for student inclusion and representation no later than 120 days of the motion passing. And if there's a seconder, I will speak to that. Thank you, Trustee Bailey.
Yes, Mark.
Apologies. Now I understand what a bit more of the question. So, so of course the education committee will debate if it gets a seconder robustly. The only problem is that the education committee on its own really can't take any action. Only the board can kind of set actions. So.
Right, they can produce a recommendation to the Board of Education.
Absolutely, the committee.
That's the wording of the thing, Mark.
So, and so I wonder what will be so if the board passes the motion, sorry, if the education committee passes the motion as it stands, what happens for the next 120 days to then have the motion go to the board?
The same as any other motion, when the education committee discusses a topic, they either robustly or not robustly, they come to a recommendation, and then they make the recommendation, they pass it, and it sends off to the board, and the board says yay or nay to our recommendation, I would imagine, Mark.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. That's the aim. Thanks. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to let you finish, Mark, but just mindful of the time, it's 8:54, and I don't know that we're going to really get through this in 5 minutes. I'm feeling like it might go a tiny bit longer, so I'm wondering if we should do a vote right now to extend our time by, I think, I don't know if there's an allotment of times, Mark Walsh, if you could tell me if motion to extend for 15 minutes. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Just need to, sorry, I've got to get to the policy. I'll be just one moment.
Trustee Keller says extend for 15 minutes. He puts a motion in to extend for 15 minutes. So
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Let's just wait for
Sure.
Mark, the other Mark, to.
Well, I would suggest for timeliness purposes proceeding that way, and if it happens to not be needed, then there's no harm, no foul.
Great, sounds good. So Trustee Keller puts a motion forward to extend our meeting 15 minutes past 9 o'clock. I have a Trustee Bailey who seconds that. We don't need to speak to the motion. I think. Do we want to vote on the motion? Anybody opposed? No? Okay, seeing none, I see that we have passed that unanimously. So we will be extending that for 15 minutes past 9 o'clock. Trustee Robinson, if you want to speak to your motion.
I'm not going to motivate the motion because I circulated it with the other trustees via email. So if there are members of the public that do have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Other than I would like to say that this sprouted out from Trustee Bailey's reminder, and I think she might speak on this. So I'm going to allow Trustee Bailey to speak on how this could have came to some degree. Thank you.
In 2018, there was a young man who ran as a trustee. He wasn't successful, but he garnered over 4,000 votes, and I was really proud of him. And I knew him as a young boy, and he was wonderful. He was engaged in politics at age 10. He used to have fierce debates with me. So I was really proud to see him years later running as a trustee. One of his dreams was to have student representation on the board in some capacity. He really felt that the voice of youth was really important, and I totally agree with him. So I promised myself when I ran, first in the by-election and then this election, that I would try to help fulfill Hunter's dream of having a student on the Board of Education in some capacity. Hunter passed away over a year ago, so it's a matter close to my heart, and I know that the Vancouver School District has a student trustee representative, so they've done it in the past, so it's not a new thing. And I really hope that we all can embrace this idea.
Thank you, Naomi. Trustee Bailey, Trustee Keller, question for clarification.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe through you to staff. I'm just wondering if we have enough direction in this motion for staff to understand what we're asking for in this motion.
I need the motion through you, Chair. I need the motion in front of me, but as far as I understand, the way that the motion has been drafted keeps it at the Education Committee like itself. So I'm not sure staff would have anything to do until such time that the Education Committee actually recommends to the board that some kind of action is taken.
So I've pasted the motion into the chat for benefit of Mr. Walsh. I just want to make sure I understand what the ask is. So is the ask that we're asking the board to refer this item back to the Education Committee for discussion?
Trustee Robinson, that's what it sounds like to me. That's how I'm reading it. But Trustee Robinson, if you want to clarify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The intention of the motion is for the Education Committee to discuss and bring forward a recommendation to the Board of Education, just like we do with other motions that come up. So the bulk of the work would be at the Education Committee level.
So basically, we put onto the agenda for next month.
In a sense, essentially, yes.
Follow up, if I may.
Yes.
Sorry, I just really want to make sure it's clear. If I could go through you, Chair, to Mr. Walsh, just to clarify the procedure here. So for this motion to be to gain approval, it would have to be approved by the board at our next meeting. And then based on the wording, we would, as I understand it, schedule this item to come back to us at this committee for discussion.
Based on the wording, yes.
Okay, I may have another question, but I can add me to the list if there's someone else.
Sorry, nobody on the list. Okay. Trustee Keller.
Okay, so through you, Chair, again, perhaps to Mr. Walsh, given this direction, would you envision that staff would bring a report to assist that, or would you envision this to be just an item that trustees discuss?
Reading the nature of the way that it's written, I would suggest that it's going to come back to the Education Committee for the trustees to discuss. Think if there's a staff recommendation being sought, that it would be the Education Committee recommend that the Board of Education I would have to take that away to think of a coherent motion. So I mean, it would be coming back in any event now. So I think the way the motion would function is that it's almost like a notice of motion that the board actually supports this, or the Education Committee sends it to the board. The board says, yes, this is a good idea to talk about more. It goes back to the Education Committee, and then a motion's going to stem from its kind of second time at the Education Committee. I would see that that's the way that it would flow.
Trustee Lee. It's getting late, so now I'm using your last names.
I'm not really sure that I understand the actual goal of this motion. And my question is we have ways that students are represented in the ways they have their voices heard in our district. We do. I'm sure maybe Scott could speak to the groups that have met. I know we have students that come in and meet. I know I personally have participated previously with DPAC in budget sessions and a few other things when we were doing strategic plans and stuff. So maybe I'm just not sure exactly the goal of this. Thanks.
So what we're talking about right now is whether or not we want to have the motion go forward. It would be a motion to bring it to the education committee to discuss. So we could discuss the motion, or rather why we would want to have a student voice or representation at the table. From what I understand though, tonight is a matter of like, we would like to have this discussed at the next education committee meeting. But it would have to go through the regular board meeting first, and then to the education, put on the education agenda. So this isn't a discussion about whether or not we should have a student voice. It's more about, should we pass a motion to have that come to us to discuss. Yeah, the intention is for the education committee to do the work and avoid a staff report. So it's really a matter of like of us discussing like what we think, what our vision is and stuff like that. So the question is, do we want to do that? Do we want to discuss it? So I think our next steps really are just to vote whether or not this comes to the regular board meeting, and then vote again. I think in a way, it was a great intention, Mark. I think what we might want to see more is just have this put onto the agenda for the next education committee meeting to discuss what our thoughts are on that. And if we have a good discussion about it and we come up with a recommendation, that recommendation is what we vote on to make it official or not official, and stuff like that. So comment, yes, Trustee Keller.
Thank you, Chair. I was actually hoping that we could hear from our staff. So I did notice that Superintendent Sawell came on the screen for a moment, and hope through you, Chair, if he could also potentially respond to whether or not he feels a staff report would aid in our future discussion on this.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I suppose I could answer that. Your motion's on the floor though, and debating whether you're going to pass the motion to have a discussion about this. I can answer the question I mean, we can look at the pros and the cons of having a student to sit at the table, as I'm not sure in what capacity. Trustee Lee is quite correct. We have different ways of getting student voice to different tables. They sit on some other committees in the district. We have student voice sessions. We do the student learning survey every year. There are different ways that happens. They don't sit at the education committee table. And if that's what we're going for, I guess staff could do a report on the pros and cons of that, I suppose. But I think the motion is to have the discussion at the education committee.
Yes, exactly. And I think so where do we go from here? I think is a question. If we vote on the motion now, basically goes, if it's a yes, it goes to the regular board meeting, and then we decide we want to discuss this at the education committee meeting, or do we put this straight onto the education committee agenda? Yes, Tanya.
I think that we're making extra steps for ourselves by doing it the way that I agree with you. I think that anybody can put anything on an agenda that they want to discuss, and there's nothing wrong with just have it with Trustee Robinson just requesting that it be on the next education agenda as a topic for discussion. And then we go from there to determine if there's a motion for a report or further work, or, you know, because I mean, I agree with Trustee Bailey that it is something I want to see, something I've always wanted to see. We had an initial discussion about it in my first term, and we paused it and didn't go back to it, and it sort of said this was not the time. And I would like to see us revisit it, but I don't know that we need to go through the extra steps of.
Yeah, so comment from Trustee Robinson. I'm really cognizant of the time right now, and I have one little announcement at the end I'd like to make. Give me 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't understand why it's so convoluted. The motion is, in a sense, that it doesn't go to the board, doesn't go to the Board of Education. It stays at the Education Committee level, and we discuss it. And the only rider is there's a 120-day limit to that, so it gets done and not forgotten, because I don't want it to be forgotten, because it's been forgotten for 30 years. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no convoluted way. It's just discuss it and move on. Thank you.
Right, and I think that the misunderstanding here is that we almost didn't need to do that. We could have just done it through just a request to put it on the agenda. Sort of making that motion sort of puts into gear certain mechanisms that it would have to go to the board first, and the board, you know, would come back, because the Education Committee can't, the way that it's written. So do we want to amend this? Maybe even Trustee Keller? I see you want to make a comment.
Thank you, and
Yep.
thank you, Chair, and I appreciate the discussion. I too want to have this discussion. I just want to make sure we're doing it in the right way. So my suggestion for your consideration would be that we not support this motion, and that Trustee Robinson could just put forward a notice of motion for the next Education Committee. We do have a policy that talks about how items get included on an agenda, and I believe it'd be an appropriate way to include that discussion. So I don't see a need for the board to approve a motion to include an item on the Education Committee agenda, if it's just for discussion.
Yeah, because then the business committee would discuss it and then have a recommendation that would go to the regular board meeting, because that would be where we like think about things and you know, hash it out and stuff like that, and then bring it to the regular board meeting. So if you're good with that, Trustee Robinson, maybe we could vote on it now, and we put it in our heads. This is going to be going on the agenda, and send an email to the Education Committee to have it added to the agenda. Would that be amenable to you, Trustee Robinson? Would that work? No? Or
yeah, I'm confused, because I literally ripped this motion word for word from another district that did the exact same thing, and it passed, and they talked about it in 64 days, and they had a committee going, they had kids, so I'm confused why it's difficult, but I will accept that and we'll put on the motion. Thank you, Chair. It's late tonight. Okay.
It's okay.
I withdraw the motion.
You know, Mark Walsh, sorry, I want to say Trustee Walsh for some reason. You're like, no. If we say yes to the motion, basically it goes to the regular board meeting. That's kind of how the motion is sort of worded.
Well, yes, because the only thing that can happen is a recommendation would come from the Education Committee. So it would go, if passed as is, it would go, and then it would come back when the board says, sure, go have that on the agenda. But to your point, could the item have be discussed the same way if the motion was the Board of Ed or the Education Committee direct that X shall happen with respect to student engagement, then that would be the end result of whatever happens discussion at the Education Committee. Because I don't, sorry, and I would just ask whether, I don't think the intent would be to create the kind of consultative structure to create what the end result looks like at the Education Committee. It would to be talking about whether the board actually wants to go and create something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what would you suggest, Mark?
Well, it's on the floor, and I don't want
okay.
to.
Sorry. what's the quickest way that we can get it to the next education committee meeting, so we can have a discussion?
Well, the board does have the opportunity to make a motion to refer the motion to the next education committee meeting, which then it would be debated at that time as it stands.
Okay. Great.
I move that we amend the motion to refer it to discuss it at the next education committee.
I
As
second that.
Mark Walsh mentioned.
Okay. So Mark moves to amend the motion to say that it will go to the next education committee meeting to discuss. I'll second that motion. Could we vote on the amendment? Oh, no.
Chair,
Sorry.
I would seek an alternative seconder just as practice.
Sorry, alternative second. Sorry. Trustee Bailey, fantastic. Can we vote on anybody opposed to the amendment? No, seeing none, unanimous. So we're going to vote now on the motion as amended. Anybody opposed to?
Sorry.
No. Yep. No, go ahead, please,
Okay.
please. It's late.
So
Yeah.
sorry, it's 9:14. So
Yep.
the move to refer it wasn't actually an amendment. It's just referred the motion to the next meeting. So it's not been amended. It's just been referred. So it
Okay.
doesn't need an additional vote once the referral has been approved.
Great. Okay. Great. So it is 9:15. So it looks like it's gone through. It will be going to the next education committee meeting, so we can discuss this more robustly. I just wanted to highlight that I'm sorry, I'm really rushing through right now, but I really want to get this out there, is that we have a question period. I don't believe that there are any questions. Nope, seeing none. I just wanted to add that this month is Autism Awareness Month. It is a month it's a month devoted to awareness of autism, which is funny because we should really be changing that to Acceptance Month. And as we know, our world is very diverse, and honoring that diversity begins with acknowledging we all deserve to be here and we all deserve to be treated with respect. And I encourage you all to seek out actually autistic creators to learn from, to financially support their businesses, and to amplify their content. I also give a shout out to Damon Kirschbaum, who is a BC youth who is really breaking down the stereotypes, and it's DAMON. KIRSEBOM, Damon Kirschbaum. You can catch him on YouTube. And I also remind people that autistics prefer the color gold because the chemical element symbol is AU. So I just wanted to get that out there, and I am 1 minute over time. I apologize, everybody. A motion to adjourn would be from Naomi Bailey, and anybody second that motion to adjourn? Trustee Keller, thank you so much, everybody, for this very long, awesome meeting. Yes, Trustee Bailey. Oh, sorry. Oh, you're raising your hand to say goodbye. Oh, sorry about that. It's really getting late now. Thank you all. Oh, another kitty cat. Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Oh, goodness.